These conspiracy theories were first spread by radio talk show host Alex Jones.
But to get the employee at YouTube on tape admitting that they do it? I mean, you must be a threat if they call you out by name.
It's fun.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Name Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones is a lunatic.
Because we know that these are legitimate news organizations. And if at that point somebody decides they're going to scroll past that and go find Alex Jones, well, they were looking for him to begin with anyway.
That man's a threat to this country.
There's a guy on the radio.
His name is Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
There's a lot of controversy around this network about Alex Jones, for example.
It's time to stop submitting to this tyranny. It's time to realize that we're being enslaved. I heard that on Alex Jones.
Infowars went even further.
Infowars, it's a radio show hosted by Alex Jones.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Nobody can dispute the fact that you're a rapist.
Infowars.com.
Infowars comes to mind.
Infowars.
Right now, the war is the Infowar.
You watch Infowars?
I got a chant going.
Looking at widely reported information from Infowars.
Infowars?
Infowars.
Infowars.com.
I want freedom. That's what I want, and that's what you should want.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Laughing at deranged social justice warriors is so 2016. I mean, it's just such low-hanging fruit. It's so cliched at this point.
Tonight, thousands of people in cities across the country will scream helplessly at the sky 1 year after the election of President Donald Trump.
All right, then, one more time. But I was thinking, this reminds me of something. What could it be?
Shout out his name.
You're reenacting the 2 minutes of hate out of 1984. You're literally Orwellian. We're dealing with the daycare generation. Why do you think college safe spaces now have crayons and puppies to cuddle? We're dealing with infants who learned that screaming was how you got your own way. Well, this is the adult world, snowflakes, and things just don't work like that. Oh, that sweet taste of liberal tears. Tell a lie, it's not sweet, it's... What's that taste? Salty. But I've got to say, I was looking forward to this immeasurably. And you kind of let me down. I mean, you had lower energy than Jeb Bush on a debate stage. Someone forgot to take their brain force. In Austin, our own Owen Schroyer screamed for longer than the actual protesters.
I'll get it kicked off here.
A handful of them turned up for 10 minutes and left.
And, excuse me, ma'am. What are you doing? Excuse me. Excuse me, why are you blocking our free speech? Got some sort of aquamarine character here. He's got a old school, like, type of a diver's scuba mask on or something here. And then he's got a homemade sort of megaphone here that he's putting into a stuffed turtle's mouth. This is actually happening. This is actually happening.
Is this really what George Soros is spending his $18 billion on? I'd ask for a refund. Maybe they think it's a kind of mating call that will attract a sexual partner. Because let's be fair, they need all the help they can get. But seriously, you guys truly do put the tard in libtard.
You hear that, kids? That's the sound of the Democrat Party dying.
Please keep autistically screeching. Please keep calling anyone with a different opinion a Nazi.
You don't need to be videotaping these people. They're on Twitter every day with their wives and
Please keep having no actual policies or arguments, because this is why Trump won.
It's Friday, November 10th, 2017. I'm Alex Jones, your host. I'm going to be here for the next 4 hours. And then Owen Schroyer comes up after that with the War Room. We have got a very important transmission for you. As we've been warning the last year, it's now happened. From the House floor, there's open discussions of martial law and a coup d'etat against President Trump. The video from the House floor on the other side. Get today's news 22 years early with Infowars.com and yours truly, Alex Jones. But now the Pentagon and all these major companies are coming out going, oh, we've done human tests in the last 20-something years. We got brain chips that are just going to turn you into superhumans. And, of course, all of it is about dehumanizing. All of it is about control. All of it has Trojan horses in it. I'm not a troglodyte. I'm not somebody that is a anti-technology person, but I know that this is part of a large plan. ABC News, CBS News, NBC News, Associated Press, all unified, spewing the globalist line. The same script. You will be chipped. You will have one in your brain soon. You will accept it. And Time Magazine for Kids, 15 years ago, was saying, you'll have chips. You belong to an incredible, new, brave future. These are quotes. Not the tired, old, sad past, but the future. You know better than your parents. Now, I would read that on air, and the media would say, it's not true, he's insane. Because the older folks weren't supposed to know what was going on with the younger folks and the conditioning, and that ties into human brains being implanted in rat brains and all the rest of it. We're going down the rabbit hole today at the bottom of the hour. I'll give you the rest of the story. Let me give you the news of 20 years from now today. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a whole segment like we're broadcasting from 2037. It is the year 2037. Mutagenic bioplagues have reduced the population by over 90%. A sentient overclass of AI computers are now in control. Here's what Davos says. Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. And you will take the chip. You will assimilate. Print me that one, too. Thank you. So, first, let me give you the big news. You notice mainstream media yesterday didn't cover it. WikiLeaks put out a new data dump, always with impeccable accuracy. Vault 8, CIA hacking tools on how to frame everybody from Americans like Trump to the Russians, to everybody else, and more. We wrote about it. Matt Drudge red-linked it last night. And it forced some media to grudgingly carry it today. That's why they spend all day calling us fake news. That's why they spend all day demonizing us, because if there wasn't Infowars.com or a DrudgeReport.com to magnify it, It's now moved halfway down the page. You'd never see it. And that's why they're engaged in disinformation campaigns against us 24/7, because they understand that we continue to force news out that's real news that they don't want discussed. Like this. CNS News. It's good to see CNS News realizing how serious this is. And it's good to see Congress seeing, because they've already canvassed Congress. We broke that with witnesses months ago. They've already gone around and found out how many people are going to go along with the martial law that's going to follow a coup against the president. And now from the House floor, Representative Gates, quote, "We are at risk of a coup d'etat in this country unless Mueller resigns or is fired." And that's exactly what I've said. It is a deep state coup of the Deputy Attorney General of a Clinton, Bush, globalist, Obama operative who is up to his eyeballs in real Russian collusion. And then they're running around saying Tucker Carlson, Matt Drudge, Alex Jones, Rand Paul are agents of the Kremlin. Should I play congressional hearings? John McCain saying Rand Paul is now an agent of the Kremlin. Preposterous. Matt Drudge linked thousands of times to Russian news stations and TV stations. Yeah, 1,000 times. And then 10,000 times the New York Times. They do the same stuff with us. Look, Jones is posting pieces of articles. It's plagiarism. When you have the source saying who it is, it's not plagiarism. But that's how they manipulate their reading audiences. Look, Jones posted 3 paragraphs of a CNN article. He's plagiarizing them. When you post a blurb to show people that what you're covering really is happening and a link to somebody, it's a favor to them. But they spin that, stop the plagiarism. Knowing the general public, I guess, isn't internet savvy or whatever to know that's how the internet's worked for 20 years. But that's what they do. That's how they operate, assaulting reality. You know, I told you a month ago that the hate hoax at the Air Force Base with the N-word taped to the vending machine was a staged event. How did I know? The way they rolled it out within hours, the way it was all scripted, it was a production. And now it was all a hoax. I'm proven right again. Donna Brazil says she wants Seth Rich investigated and fears for her life and is pointing at Hillary Clinton. Oh, I'm sorry. Right again. Oh, we were right that Trump was going to get elected. Right again. That's why they're pulling their hair out. They don't know what to do. But here it is. House Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida called on Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who is investigating alleged Russian collusion with the Trump 2016 campaign, to resign because there is an apparent conflict of interest involving Mueller and an alleged campaign to undermine the president and force him from office. An alleged campaign? They admit the campaign of the deep state that'll destroy us 7 ways from Sunday. He also called for a special prosecutor to investigate Uranium One scandal, the Clinton Foundation, and the Fusion GPS firm, and, of course, BuzzFeed and the made-up Wee Gate, PP Gate. The platinum standard of fake news, BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed investigators discovered Alex Jones linked to and posted articles out of Russia. You invest, did you find the sun in the sky? Hidden on his website with millions of daily readers. Tell us some more twisted, weird garbage. That's how they operate. There's your Russia connection. Why, Matt Drudge linked to the Russians. Yeah, I've also linked to the CIA this week. And I've also linked to BuzzFeed. Doesn't mean I agree with them. I've also linked to congressional reports and bills and Voice of America and publish all of the Voice of America articles when I think they're interesting or informative because it's taxpayer paid for, and under rulings, I can use it. Remember when Obama tried to put copyrights on White House photos and said the public couldn't use them when he didn't like some of them? They lost in court on that, by the way. See, that's how that works. So they want to play these games and stifle free speech by attacking it and saying if you link to what Putin says or you link to what Russia reports for their perspective, you're a Russian agent. But when you're on the tarmac giving them uranium, when you're in 10 different companies with them, when all of this is going on and Hillary's in bed with them and hundreds of millions of dollars and all these millions of dollars in speeches, all completely illegal. Oh, that's okay. But, oh, Rand Paul is a Russian agent, according to McCain. Remember on the floor of the Senate? That man, Senator Rand Paul, is now working with the Kremlin. And remember, Congressman on Fox News, if anybody challenged them, they go, you're with the Kremlin now. I mean, it's ridiculous. But they try to bully everyone into submission with this preposterous garbage. And the gall of it, the over-the-top arrogance of hiding in plain view, they're the ones selling America out, not just to Russia, but to anybody that'll pay, hand over fist. And then pointing their fat fingers back at us saying we're the ones when we are as pure as the driven snow when it comes to Russia collusion. We'll be back with the martial law. There's been a new French car attack. Sees driver deliberately plow into a crowd of pupils, children, near Toulouse High School. Wow. I don't even want to watch the video, but I guess we should probably show it to you coming up later. I want to break down all this technology news, superhumans, chips inserted into brains, will give us mind-blowing abilities within years. See, they're just selling it with breathlessly that it's so wonderful, but then the smartphones, all of it actually lower our IQs, make us more miserable. And the former president of Facebook has gone public and said that it's designed to make you lonely and alone and preys on you. Well, I don't need to just believe Mr. Parker. In January of this year, documents were leaked by Facebook executives in Australia, bragging about how they're targeting their prisoners and how the left is their main group that they vampirically feed on, who they keep totally depressed, totally upset, and then have bots that are fake people managing them and trying to get them as mentally ill as possible. Then they run serotonin reuptake inhibitor ads, then they pop up psychology test ads, and then induct you into the medical system. It is a computer program AI system targeting you for medicalization and then final death. That's why they report in Texas 70+% of foster children are on psychotropics. And on average, they're on 8 medications, and many of them end up dying. They're on so many medications. Judges have gone public about it, and doctors have gone public how they'll take a totally healthy, say, 4 or 5-year-old, and 3 years later, they're dead. It's so sick. Okay, I said I'd get into all that future information in the next segment. It's so hardcore. Let me hit this first. When you've got the former deputy director of the FBI and the former deputy director of the CIA, Phil Mudd, he's been both, a Mueller protege, saying we're getting ready to kill the president. That's a signal on television, on CNN. When you've got hashtag Hunt Republicans, Democrats on CNN and Fox saying, yeah, we're going to kill Republicans. When you've got Republicans getting shot and killed all over the country and getting beaten and attacked, stabbed, you name it. City council people getting killed in their yards, Rand Paul attack, Congressman Scalise, churches getting attacked everywhere by Islamicists, doesn't even hardly make the news when they attack a Tennessee church and shoot a bunch of people. Remember that? Or Maryland church a few weeks ago. Most of you probably never even heard of that. Because you're not supposed to. You're just supposed to target everybody and start the killing and at a grassroots level try to make you go underground and not have your political views so that they can dominate. But they don't want to make you a cause celeb in the media. And they're going around doing a poll or a canvas is what they call it. And people drop by the congressman's office and they say, the president's going to be dead soon. Or he's going to be removed. And, you can have a future and still do most of what you're doing, which is always a lie, that they always want more. But you need to back down and not make a big deal about what's about to happen. And they're testing to see if you're going to fight back, if you're going to speak out. Somebody says that to me within my arm's length, I'm going to punch him in the nose. But I have been told that over the telephone. Okay? And I'm serious. You come up and tell me that, hey, the president's not going to be alive very soon, better get on board with us, I'm going to punch you in the nose. Guaranteed. Boom! You're getting punched in the nose. And this is getting serious, folks. They're a bunch of bullies, a bunch of gangsters, a bunch of racketeers. And they're canvassing Congress, seeing who are cowards. And believe me, when you're looking at Mitch McConnell and all these folks, they're all compromised. They're all blackmailed. That's why they're put in the positions they are. And they're not even really wanting power now. They're scared. They're scared. Paul Ryan, all of them. They are owned men. They are puppets. They are nobodies. They are marionettes. And they're working with the Democrats to get all these Republicans to resign so that Trump doesn't have a majority to even get his tax cuts. And the Judge Roy Moore stuff is beginning to disintegrate. And I want to be clear, the first reports I saw yesterday were that he had just told girls they were pretty in front of their parents. And then later I saw reportedly a mother dropped a daughter off at his house and reportedly he took her pants off. And it's probably not true, but, you know, this stuff goes on and happens. It's epidemic. It could be true. If it's true, I think it's horrible. But now it's coming out. Claim. Reporters secretly recorded offering woman $1,000 to accuse Moore. Accusations against Moore already debunked, question mark. And reportedly it's been delivered to the DA's office and to the FBI. It needs to go directly to Roy Moore. So we'll see what unfolds with that. But they said all these same things about Trump, and it turned out those weren't true either, and that people have been paid to say it and then you know, later recanted. So we know the season we're in, ladies and gentlemen. But right now in Congress, they have Mueller as this fourth branch of government controlled by the globalists that is completely corrupt, that's trying to have a coup. And they're moving forward with it. They're going to use that as the pretext to then have a new election, suspend most of the Republicans that got elected, and then make the Democratic Party a one-party permanent state with the Republicans as maybe a Southern breakaway group. That's their plan. That's why Republicans can't join with this or go along with this, because the globalists know the Democrats are finished. So all they have is authoritarianism now to convert us to a full authoritarian state like Venezuela with staged elections. We're here, and Congressman Gates gets it. He does a lot of great work. Here's the clip.
And Mr. Speaker, we are at risk of a coup d'etat in this country if we allow an unaccountable person with no oversight to undermine the duly elected president of the United States. And I would offer that is precisely what is happening right now with the indisputable conflicts of interest that are present with Mr. Mueller and others at the Department of Justice. I join my colleague, the gentleman from Arizona, in calling for Mr. Mueller's resignation or his firing. Moreover, we absolutely have to see the Department of Justice appoint a special counsel to look into the Clinton Foundation, the Uranium One deal, and the Fusion GPS dossier that I will now have the opportunity to discuss. I really don't know who's investigating the Uranium One deal right now. I know that in July, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, along with 20 members of the Judiciary Committee, sent a letter to Attorney General Sessions asking who would be looking into these critical questions, demanding that a special counsel be appointed to conduct a thorough review. And it is extremely disappointing that the chairman of the Judiciary Committee...
Well, that is Congressman Matt Gaetz, who just keeps doing a great job. What a patriot. He is on target. That's future presidential material right there. He is ringing the alarm bell like Paul Revere. You know, it's hard to believe that it's Veterans Day already tomorrow, or that today is the birthday of the Marine Corps. But, you know, machines are now replacing humans in most of the tasks the military carries out. The big problem there is that then the globalists have autonomous systems that they can program and control, and it takes the human element out who can say no to illegal orders or who have a conscience. For a long time, they've been trying to turn humans into machines because they couldn't invent machines that were as good as humans. And that's really been the goal. Superhumans, chips inserted into brains will give us mind-blowing abilities within years. But what did calculators do? They've lowered the standard of arithmetic almost to nothing now. Now, I'm not against calculators. I'm saying they did this. What does screen time in video games do? Most children are overweight, unhealthy. Most adults are. We get more and more obese. Our cancer rates skyrocket. Screen time puts us into a trance-like state. And again, when mainstream media wants to report about how wonderful it is implanting baby brains, parts of baby brains, human baby brains in mice, it's cute and funny because they say it's no big deal. But then when I talk about it and say it's crazy and dehumanizing and that we shouldn't cross these lines, oh, then they just say Jones is insane. He claims there's human-animal chimeras and cyborgs and everything. It just doesn't exist. See, that's the tactic they use. And there's a lot of breaking news. I'm gonna get into this later in the broadcast because I want to spend a lot of time on it. I want to hit a bunch of political news right now. Quite frankly, I don't know the truth about the Roy Moore situation. I just see the circumstantial situation with the establishment, the desperate Republicans wanting to stop the populist Trump wave. I looked into allegations in the past of Roy Moore. There being some claims of harassment, some claims of sexual impropriety, some claims of pedophilia or underage stuff. And there was zero, even during the highly contested election. But then I see new reports out today, or stuff I'd missed yesterday because it broke while I was live on air, about a mother bringing her 14-year-old daughter to a 35-year-old man's house and dropping her off. I mean, I find that suspect of a woman that would say she did that. And I'm not questioning or saying they're liars. I don't know. But we saw the same stuff with Trump, and none of it was true. But what woman, what mother brings their 14-year-old daughter after Judge Roy Moore, back then I guess a prosecutor or whatever, says, boy, I think you're pretty, because that's the first thing I read, but there was no, quote, sex. And then Moore comes out, oh, no, it's taking pants off. Says the mother drove her 30 minutes to his home in the woods. Let me tell you something. I would never deliver my 14-year-old daughter, and I've got one, to be alone with a woman and a man if two adults said, drop your daughter by, and it was some man and woman, a husband and wife, I'd say, no, I'm not doing that. If it was a birthday party, there better be a bunch of people there. And, of course, the reports changed. Now they're saying he picked her up. The point is the mother knew about it. This went on. The whole thing's crazy. And you know what? It turns out so many politicians and so many people that want power in both political parties and in other political systems around the country and around the world are into this, and it's like their religion, and it's how you get recruited into power, and you don't get into a lot of these positions of power unless you're compromised. It makes me think maybe it is true. Again, I just don't know. But I know this. The media is conflating men asking women out, or now women asking other women out, or Ellen DeGeneres at a public party coming over and saying, wow, really like your low-cut dress. You're adults at a party drinking. Ellen DeGeneres comes over and hits on you. I don't like Ellen DeGeneres' politics. I don't like all her anti-male stuff. I don't like all her feminist pushing. She is a hypocrite. But if she wants to come over and admire Katy Perry, they're adults. They're at a party. That's not That's not a crime. But see, that's what they're doing. They're turning normal, adult, promiscuous behavior. I'm not saying it's good, but it goes on in mammals. That's how we procreate. It's not a crime. And humans are into each other. And then that becomes the crime with consensual adults or somebody hitting on them. Now, Ellen DeGeneres would have chased her around saying, come home with me tonight. We could say she was a creep or harassing her, stop it. And then if she's her boss, use that against her, then that's a problem. That's real sexual harassment, and it's wrong. But that's not what that is. So they take that, and then they make it like it's the same thing as Harvey Weinstein with all these 16 and 17-year-old girls he's got coming up to his hotel rooms naked, trying to make them watch him take a shower to debase him. And then, of course, it just gets worse from there. The rape reports and all the rest of it that are clearly true because there's so many examples of it over decades. There's a history. But are Republicans always getting caught with little kids? Are they getting caught cheating on their wives? Are they getting caught with, in bathrooms, having sex with other men? Absolutely. Are Republicans' proclivities to engage in sexual escapades, both legal and illegal, just as bad as the Democrats? I think so. So that's where I stand on it. I don't know. Yesterday I saw the first reports and it said, oh, didn't ask for sex, didn't. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, then I said, said to a mom, daughter was pretty. I hadn't then seen the other stuff that came out. And if it's true, it just shows you how evil society is and how fallen and how broken. And it just totally confuses me because I just don't understand it. And I don't understand people that are attracted to children. I would see Hugh Hefner, 85 years old with 20-year-old women, and it just looked gross. It's just not normal. When I was 16, I was attracted to 16-year-old girls. But as I get older, I get attracted to women that are my age or maybe 5 years younger. It's just, I just don't understand it. But it's an issue of not having maturity, being insecure and wanting power over someone who isn't as intellectual as you are, who isn't developed. That's really what this is all about. And then you get deeper into it. It's about the Satanism. It's about all of it. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you ask yourself, when does it end? And again, I'm not saying this is true about more. I'm just saying as prolific a problem as this is, it can be true. But then, boom, breaking. And this is the info I've been getting since last night. Roy Moore's accuser worked for Democrat leaders and has actively campaigned for Moore's opponent. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. They had 4 lawsuits filed saying Donald Trump raped 14-year-old girls. Turned out they were fake names filed, where none of them were even real Jane Does. But still, it's so prolific in power structures, who knows? I just know that fathers need to stand up for their daughters and their sons. There's this thing about sons getting abused, that it tends to get covered up because it's not seen as manly to admit your son got abused. And that's why the amount of boys being abused, it's estimated is much higher than the girls because men are supposed to be tough and, just take it or not talk about it. It's unbelievable. All right, I got some other huge news. Stay with us. We'll be back. So I had a lot of national media text me and call me yesterday and said, will you disavow Judge Roy Moore? Well, if they asked, will you disavow David Duke and his views, I'd say yes, because we know David Duke's views, and I can say I disagree with them. But at the same time, Roy Moore has not been convicted. The proof is 30-plus years old. There is no proof. It could be true. Somebody could say that I'm an agent of Chile and not have any evidence. And then people call him and say, do you disavow Alex Jones? He's an agent of Brazil or an agent of Mexico or an agent of Canada. It's just an accusation. This wasn't brought out earlier. And as I said months ago, this whole Weinstein thing is going to build and build until then the Democrats say, OC, but Republicans did it to us too, and that will give them the cover, give them the wave to accuse whoever they want, including the president. Turns out one of the main accusers is up on Infowars.com. Roy Moore's accuser worked for Democrat leaders and is actively campaigning for Moore's opponent. And here it is. She worked for the DNC. There's photos of her with Hillary Clinton. And she actually works for Doug Jones in the campaign. There she is with Joe Biden. So Judge Roy Moore has said it is completely false and totally made up and absolute fake news. I mean, I don't know Judge Roy Moore. He doesn't look like a pervert. He doesn't look like Dennis Hastert, and these guys all seem to look the same, but whatever. I mean, I think it's creepy if a 35-year-old guy is going after 14-year-olds, and it's underage. I think it starts going into pedophile territory. Under about 13, you're definitely a pedophile. I think the age of consent should stay right where it is at 17, 18 years old. But you notice they throw the book at people who are like 18 and have a 14, 15-year-old girlfriend. That's not statutory rape. But again, they go after the stuff that really isn't abusive, and then they just leave the wide open, really hardcore stuff alone. It's sick, but that's starting to change, ladies and gentlemen. And I just want to ask, why didn't these mothers and people that are saying things, why didn't they say something 35 years ago? And by the way, if they can produce a police report or something or some evidence, then I'm going to say, okay, looks like Roy Moore, bad guy, he needs to step down. But are you going to hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen? Because they did the same thing to Trump, and I would get the same calls. Are you going to disavow the candidate Trump? And I'd say, okay, it's Jane Doe in New York. Let's see some evidence. And it was totally fake in Houston and in New York. And it was all fake stories about him and Epstein, who'd never been alone together. They've been to some parties before. You got the Clintons on the planes. You've got Weinstein on the planes, Kevin Spacey. And notice with them, you've got rape cases settled. You notice with them, you've got where there's smoke, there's fire. But could Moore be guilty? Absolutely. These problems are prolific. But I don't think so. The evidence isn't pointing that direction. This stinks now of political manipulations. Now, mainstream media, because I don't just pick a talking point and go with it, I go where the evidence leads. They may say, Jones is all over the map. You know, first he says no evidence, then he says there could be evidence, and then he says, well, it's not a strong case. Because we are learning more as things go on. But that's the semantical games they play. But do we catch judges and Republicans and people doing bad things? Yeah. In fact, you find an overabundance in places of power, people like that, because they're seeking power. And people that want power, a certain percentage of them, want children. It's the disgusting caviar that welds the whole evil thing together. So I want to expose it. I've known Charlie Sheen for like 12 years. Stayed at his house probably 13, 14, 15 times. When I'd go out to L.A. to do something, I'd go by, see him, stay there a night or two. Never saw any sex, any impropriety. He was always married with the wife he was with until he asked me to come out there and help him stay sober when he'd gotten on drugs. I went out there and there were a few wild girls and stuff there. And I said, man, I'm out of here, bro. It's a bad vibe here. You need to check yourself in. And he said, oh, I'm off drugs. But never saw any gay proclivities, nothing about children. But you now hear the story about a guy dead again for over a decade, stuff that happened reportedly 30 years ago. And people say, do you disavow Charlie Sheen? I have said that when I knew him, he was sober and off drugs, just smoked cigarettes and drank coffee. He was a smart guy, trying to be politically involved, trying to be a good guy. But now Denise Richards, has come out and said, well, she saw videos on his computer of what looked like young men or women. And I'm like, okay, Denise, if he really did this, and maybe he did, why'd you bring it all out only after you'd gotten $20, $30 million or whatever it is in alimony? I mean, you need to bring it out when it's happening, if you've seen it. But if it is the case, then Charlie Sheen's one more evil casualty of that whole sick system that's Hollywood. So I've said Hollywood's totally out of control, totally corrupt, totally evil, a rotting, stinking cesspool. But then there's the same response. Jones, you need to respond to the Charlie Sheen thing. I've already done it 3 times. Jones, you talk about the Federal Reserve. I didn't talk about it today. It's the same thing over and over again. Now, speaking of hoaxes, CNN has had to admit that the old Air Force thing was a hoax. But they don't want to tell you specifically who was the hoaxers putting the N-word on the vending machine. Ladies and gentlemen, when I said it was probably a hoax, it was because I saw the big PR rollout. The way it came out was so slickly done, so quick to coincide with the whole NFL thing. And plus, 99% of the cross burnings and poop swastikas and all the rest of this stuff, they end up finding out it's somebody wanting attention. It's a fact. So if 99 times out of 100, it's fake, if 99 times out of 100 it's fake, why wouldn't it be fake again? And, you know, if I had to find somebody, I'd say I'd investigate that general. He's the one running the show. He's the one grandstanding. He's the one who's a Politico, an anti-Trump guy. I'm not saying he did, but you know what? I said it was staged, and now we know it's staged. And you know what? I think somebody put somebody up to that. It was either an SJW or somebody under that general. We know somebody staged it to further divide America and have the military brass run psyops all over national television and assault us with propaganda. What the Air Force Academy hate crime hoax teaches us about mainstream media and race. And all of the SJW-type people behind him getting off on beating the cadets over the head and beating the active duty people over the head, saying you're basically all bad. No, you're who's bad, creating division, running your operations against us. You're anti-American scum, and you're losing. So that clip's coming up. Before I go any further, we need financial support. You know the globalists are after us on every front, and we make it easy to do with really high quality, the best water filters, the best air filters, the best T-shirts to spread the word, and ball caps, and free shipping that's going to have to end today, store-wide, and 50% off on the high-quality fluoride-free toothpaste with colloidal silver and iodine. So good, such a game changer. We have the limited edition anti-fascist, anti-communist shirt, only this month available. It's $9.95. 50% off. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, 50% off. Super Mel Vitality, 50% off. We've got the Probiotic Bomb Defense, 50% off. And a lot of these I actually lose money on with the free shipping, but I want you to see how great they are. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. And we are, as you know, one of the main organizations that's willing to tell the truth and take the risk for our children and our future. I'm not saying, hey, I'm a hero, support me, aren't I great? I'm saying I'm fighting as hard as I can, going to the mat every time, 110%, hair on fire, going crazy, not backing down, committed to not take it lying down and getting victory. So you want to get great products and support the broadcast, go to InfoWarsStore.com. And a lot of the stuff is our best sellers priced down to almost no profit. Buy some of the other great products, too, like DNA Force, 25% off. That's already a great deal for shipping, but I just can't do 50% off on that, or we'll go bankrupt. I mean, these are really good deals. So buy a lot of stuff and support the broadcast. Thank you all for your support. You're amazing. We'll be right back with hour number 2. Stay with us. Well, I told you at the time, a month ago, because of the timing and because of the scripting I saw and because of the past history of 99%, literally, of hate crimes being hoaxes. The burning crosses, the poop swastikas. I mean, it's just an epidemic of attention-seeking and how the psychological bullies beat everybody over the head. You've got this SJW Air Force general who was a big anti-Trumper, and his whole group of liberal cohorts wanted to terrorize the Air Force and terrorize the cadet school that was also based there. And so they posted, "Go home, N-word," on the vending machine and in other areas. And, of course, it's fake. So they could beat everybody over the head, just like all the NFL crud and the rest of it. This is how they go to war against America. It's how they divide everybody. And don't you know CNN hated having to eat crow with this statement that unfortunately it was fake. Oh, unfortunately there wasn't enough racism for you to make up or for you to fan the flames of all the knockout games. White people are dying every day from knockout games. There are reports every couple days of people dying, people almost dying every day, to be clear. But 4 or 5 deaths a week, and they're almost all old white people. And it's black folks going over because they're white, they deserve it, and punching them, and then they hit their head and they die. And then the media plays dumb, and there's all these cops getting killed and all the rest of it that's racially motivated because the media has hyped up some racist black folks, like the new Black Panther Party down in Houston says, go out and kill white people, go out and loot them. Don't rob your neighborhood, go kill them. And it's sick. But then you've got these people at the Air Force and the SJW sitting there with all the fake indignance and all the fake gravitas that the general had of just, you're all a bunch of trash. We're going to find out who did this. You're all under scrutiny, except them, the ones that did it. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen.
A stunning update today on a story we covered in late September. It was a speech heard all around the world, viewed more than 1 million times on social media. Lieutenant General Jay Silveria received high praise for telling a room full of cadets that racial slurs will not be tolerated at the Air Force Academy. The general was responding to racial epithets, including the N-word, scribbled on these message boards on the doors of 5 black cadets at the prep school. And I talked to him the day after his speech was really praised all around, and this is what he told me then about that teachable moment.
So I needed to address the topic head on, but it's also about teaching them about addressing the topic.
Listen to
so
this.
I wanted to be unambiguous about how we're going to treat this topic, but everything
this
that we
is the
do
religion.
here is about
See,
developing these airmen.
They
so
take all your rights away
to also give them
and then turn you into a scramble-brained idiot.
After a month-long investigation, officials at the school now say it was all a hoax perpetrated by one of the black students.
So he stands by his message and thinks it's a powerful message that should be understood by all airmen, both at the academy and wider.
Well, he's right. The speech still stands. The words ring true. It's just unfortunate to learn who, really all the way around, who
By the way, it was also on vending machines, was the first report I saw, but also on the doors. And of course, they're saying it's the black cadet, but not naming anything. My gut tells me, just like I told you it was fake, and the timing and all the rest of it, that it was staged. Or it was a copycat because of all the NFL hyping and the Kaepernick garbage. Either way, it's as phony as a $3 bill, and we are right again. Infowars, get next month's news today in the case of that. But in the case of brain chips and world government, get today's news 22 years early at Infowars. Oh, and I also told you Trump was going to win. That's right. And a lot more. Oh, and that Seth Rich was murdered as a DNC operation. Oh, it's all coming out. That's why they hate us so much. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, the former president of Facebook admits the plan is to dehumanize you, make you depressed, and totally control you. We also have their own internal documents admitting it. This is key information. And it ties in with all the big pushes to microchip troops, not just for PTSD, but part of signing up as Sweden moves to make folks that are going to be traveling on the trains and buses take microchips. And USA Today says, you will take it. ABC News says, you will take it. Imagine, I told you 20 years ago they were going to try to make it mandatory. I think the Bible told us 2,000 years ago. The Bible. Get today's news 2,000 years early. So a lot going on. It's coming out that at least one of the Roy Moore accusers works directly for Hillary and for Jones, who is the Democrat candidate for Senate there. This reeks as a political hit job of the Republican establishment trying to hold on to power, going after them as well. But I wanted to get Dr. Steve Pachinik on. We haven't been able to have him on as much because the hurricane devastated Florida. He's been working on that. But now he's joining us to get into what's happening currently in the world, what he sees happening in Korea, what he sees happening in the Middle East, what he sees with the different policies of Trump. But I got to say this. He was on, I guess, about a month ago, and I was talking about how the generals, and General Kelly, namely, Chief of Staff, were in the news blocking all Infowars and Breitbart news getting to the president's desk. But it was also other news as well. And that I was really upset about that. And, you know, he made the point that, well, you got 70 employees. The president's got thousands. And if I need to talk to you, I usually have to call one of your crew members, you know, not just you because you're busy. And I understand that. And I understand they had leaks. But now, in hindsight, Kelly has gotten a lot better, actually, on a lot of policies. And Trump has actually gotten more effective in some ways. So I think the proof is in the pudding. But larger than that, I've set up when I'm doing in Austin, Texas. People say, why Austin? Because my family's from here, you know, before California invaded. And I've got my own operation. I'm trying to change the world from kind of out here in the wilderness. And we've been effective, not in the swamp. I don't want to be part of the camp followers. I don't want to be in the swamp. I don't care who's got the presidents here, Jared Kushner or Stephen Bannon or any of this. I've had plenty of chances to go have meetings, all these bigwigs and stuff. I haven't done it because it's just kind of sycophantic in a way. Of course, you get a lot of big inside stories and things like that. So when I've been upset at Kushner or I've been upset at Bannon or I've been upset at, it's about policies and ideas, or Kelly for that matter. But I'm not in the cult of D.C. I'm not trying to be part of it. I'm not trying to swim around in it. When I go after somebody, it's because I'm upset about policies and I want them to know I'm upset and the American people are upset. It's not so I get a seat at their fetid table. I want Trump in there to dynamite the D.C. system and try to restore our republic and kick some of these arrogant people out. But that said, Pachinik has said that he thinks Kelly's a pretty good guy. And I think so far, there's been some propaganda out there by people that do really want their lobbying organizations in the White House. And so it's internal power struggles. And then some of the things going on in the White House get exaggerated really in power struggles. And I just want to signal and telegraph, I'm not part of D.C. or Capitol Hill or White House power struggles. It's like when Fox News years ago did a New York Daily News interview and said, Alex Jones tried to get a job with us, but we refused him. An unnamed vice president said. I refused 3 shows with Fox. They wanted me to fly there every Friday, tape shows on Saturday that would air Sunday. No way. No way. Just out of hand. I have a family. I am so proud that I refused the big radio network deals. And then I did all the other stuff and the TV show deals. That's really what I'm proud of. So I just want to telegraph that to everybody. I built my operation myself. Didn't do it with daddy's money. Didn't do it like Kushner, which, you know, more power to you, bro. I'm not trying to be at the trough, okay? I don't want to hang around in New York. I don't want to hang around in D.C. Horrible vibes. I want to be out in the hill country away from everybody. So understand, I don't want to be in your club. I don't want to be in any intelligence agencies. I don't want to be, you understand? I wouldn't join any organization that would have me. You understand? So I want to just telegraph that clearly to everybody. I'm self-made, and I'm proud of that, and I'm a maverick, and that's the way it is. And I piss on Hollywood, and I piss on D.C., and I piss on all of it. It's disgusting. It's like some ugly, diseased, snaggletooth, pus-filled woman with 14 diseases telling people I want to have sex with them. It's a damn lie. Excuse me. There you go. I'm going to be a good boy here. Anyways, let's get Dr. Steve Pachinik on because, I mean, I have to say, he got real mad when I was criticizing Kelly, saying that it was just all internal fighting garbage. And so far, he's been proven about 80% right. We'll see what happens because Kelly's getting better and better about stuff. And I think what I've been told is kind of woken up to what's going on and has gotten more hardcore. Maybe he got his sea legs. But I want to get into all this with Dr. Pachinik. Also, Congressman from Florida, Gates, says that basically they're trying to coup against the president and shopping a coup against the president up there on Capitol Hill. We'll play that clip coming up. So, Doc, there's a big waterfront to cover here, but what should we tackle first?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, but you and I can disagree and we'll always be friends. The real big issue issue and why I can't go on the internet is I'm being hacked. Like you, I too am being hacked. Google demonetized me, and the Israelis and some Americans understand what I'm about to tell you, and they're not happy about it. What I'm about to say, and I'm cutting to the chase, is that there's going to be a war in Lebanon between Hezbollah and the Israeli army. I predicted it months ago. Unfortunately, it's coming true. Once again, that incompetent young man from the White House, Jared Kushner, went over to Saudi Arabia, talked to another incompetent young man named Mohammed bin Salman, who's never been in the army, created a war 2 years ago with Yemen against the Houthis. And because Saudi Arabia is surrounded by Shiites and Iran, and they lost, and because 3 weeks ago, I couldn't even announce on your show that Syria beat our troops and beat ISIS. And so what's happening is there's a lot of distraction going on the domestic side in order for you and me to avoid what the real issue is, and that is Lebanon will be put into play. And once again, Israel will probably attack Hezbollah, while the head of Hezbollah, whom I have known about, and I've worked against Hezbollah, and I worked with Hezbollah, is going to fight the Israeli army. And this is what they don't want me to say to you. That's why I can't go on the internet. That's why they won't allow me to publish a lot of things. But they clearly signaled that they're going to war with Iran.
Well, sure, let me be clear, and I'm glad we got you on. They're like picking people up that are guests on the show now, the FBI is. I mean, I know you've been called in to federal court as well about the show, but this is getting serious.
Yes, that's correct. The FBI and I do not get along because from the very day that I had to deal with the FBI in the Hanafi Muslim episode where 150 hostages were taken hostage in 3 different buildings, the FBI nested up so badly that I was brought in. I was sworn in by the prosecutor, Earl Silbert. I took it over, and then I said to the FBI, you had a bad behavioral profile. You didn't know what you're doing. You couldn't rappel from the helicopters. You were not any good. You're incompetent. Since that day, they know exactly how I feel about them. I've said you were created by a cross-dresser who was a manipulator and a sick individual, and it continued through Mueller and the 9/11 issue, and the FBI got pissed because I said you're incompetent.
Well, Dr. Pachinik, this is important. Let's get into the civil war in Islam and all the different factions and the Sunnis and the Shiites and what's really happening in Saudi Arabia, because that is the real reason we got you on. What's happening in Saudi Arabia? Is it spilling over into America? Because that's the info I have, is that Vegas and other events are spillovers of this whole Saudi situation. We'll be right back with Dr. Steve Pachinik on the coming war he says is about to take place. So we've got this Prince bin Salman and the new king that are in charge over in Saudi Arabia. Trump goes over there to make deals. You got Kushner running around the middle of it. And all I want is stability and peace. But let's talk about, from Dr. Steve Pachinik's sources, and of course he's worked for different agencies in the State Department and best-selling author with Tom Clancy and a lot of other things under his belt. He's given us a lot of good information over the years. What's currently happening? I mean, they're admitting that there's about to be a new war in the Middle East, and that all these machinations are going on, and that we see a lot of the older line globalist connections kind of being severed. We see them trying to modernize in some ways. I mean, what are the positive areas about the new people in charge? And then what's negative and what's really behind the helicopters blowing up and the firefights? And I mean, reducing this down, what's currently happening in the Middle East that they don't want in our news?
What they don't want in the news is the fact, number one, we lost the war in Syria. We had spent trillions of dollars. Obama had sent over $500 billion, or moderate, terrorists. It was a total nonsense created by the CIA, Panetta, Petraeus, and all the nonsense in the war in Syria. Syria eventually won. That means Russia, Iran, and Syria were the dominant powers. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Israel lost. In turn, what they're doing right now is that the young prince, who's really incompetent and started a war in Yemen against the Iranians supporting the Houthi, His name is Mohammed Salman, as you said. But the key person here is a name called Harari. I knew his father. He's the son, but he's the president of Lebanon. The Harari family was always beholden to Saudi Arabia. So the young prince called him back to Saudi Arabia because Harari has a Lebanese passport and a Saudi passport. But it's a very bad sign for Harari to remain in Saudi Arabia these days because basically he's held hostage. What that means, in effect, is that Saudi Arabia and Israel wants to designate all of Lebanon as Hezbollah empowered country, and that's not true. You have phalangists, you have Shiites, you have Sunni, you have Druze. It's a very complicated area. When the Syrians were in there, they were able to maintain peace. But now Saudi Arabia is surrounded by Syria, which they lost to Iran. You have Iraq, where we lost it to Iran. Saudi Arabia is on the
I understand.
border.
If you look at this geopolitically, under Obama and what's happened in the last 8 years, we have absolutely lost the Middle East. But some would argue that was a strategy of destabilization and globalists selling out the United States, because you and I were talking 8, 9 years ago about how this was destroying, U.S. dominance and also putting bad people in charge. So how can we see what's happening and then just say they're incompetent? I mean, this was done on purpose. They funded the Arab Spring.
Correct. Well, because we're not putting in jail the Muellers, the Hillary Clintons, the warmongers, the people in the CIA.
Sure. So what's about to happen as this war escalates?
What's to happen now is Bibi Netanyahu has just been indicted. He, his wife, all of his friends, all of his cabinet have been indicted by the Israeli judicial system, basically saying you're so corrupt. So you've got internal problems in Israel, you got internal problems in Saudi Arabia and Lebanon. What Israel is going to do is attack with the permission of America, because for the first time we announced, and nobody's heard it, a full-time base in Israel with American weapons, meaning we have missile systems and airplanes there. We never had that before, and we kept that quiet. But for the first time, it was never covered in the newspapers. We publicly announced we are with Israel, and we will fight whomever Israel fights. Now, Israel forgets that in 2006, Bibi again incompetently went into southern Lebanon to attack Hezbollah, and he failed. It was a war that was supposed to take over for 3 days. I found out.
Sure. Hezbollah was dug in and had light anti-tank weapons and took out their...
Exactly. And they took out the equivalent of what we consider in America at a 30-to-1 ratio. In other words, every Israeli soldier is the equivalent to 30 Americans in number. They took out about 35,000 dead Israeli soldiers in equivalent numbers, and it was a failure. And once again, Bibi's going to go in there, and the Israeli government is going to mobilize the IDF, and they will fail again. This time, Hezbollah is fully armed, and more importantly, the Hezbollah fighters are part of the Lebanese army. They're no longer terrorists. It's nonsense to consider them terrorists.
Well, the bigger issue is now, as you said, those corridors have been open now with the ongoing wars in that area, and so the Iranians have brought in their Revolutionary Guard and heavier weapons, reportedly, so this could get really bad fast.
It's going to get nasty, and it's not only going to get nasty, it has no legitimacy on our part. We have no national security interest in the Middle East with regard to Iran. Iran has done nothing to us.
Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think's advising? You really think Trump is listening to Kushner?
Yes. No question about it.
Well, I've learned in the last couple of months, Trump's really turned on Kushner. And I don't like even getting in the middle of this. I don't even like knowing this stuff. But you see it in the news now, but I knew months ago that Trump is very angry at Kushner over...
He may be. I have no qualms about that. But what I'm saying to you, and you're right on many things, but Roger Stone said this well into 2 months ago, that there would be an impending war in the Middle East. He never elaborated. Now, what I'm saying when I came back on, number one, they want to make sure I don't get on the internet or video. This is not by accident. This all happens intent.
No, I understand. Well, then let me ask you this. We'll come back to the next segment. You can talk about whatever you want.
Yes.
What do you make of blowback and information on Vegas And this mental patient tried to kill his command. They put him in a mental institution. He escapes. They don't file the paperwork that he's not allowed to own a firearm. I mean, this whole thing smells.
Yeah, but this is where you and I may differ. It, again, has the footprints and the heavy footprints of the FBI all over it, because every time you look at one of their profiles, it's the same dynamic with Sandy Hook. The guy was mentally ill, he escaped, and then they blow up the building and make sure there's nothing left. This is the incompetency of what I consider to be a Stasi.
Sure, what do you make of the Sandy Hook, Adam Lanza documents the FBI released?
It was nonsense. They had to overcome what I was saying and you were saying, because I knew very well that the psychiatrist whom they hired at Yale was just paid off.
I know, but it's in the new documents that Lanza was working with the CIA.
Oh, no, it's nonsense. The whole thing was nonsense. And what it shows to you is that we're waiting.
Are you saying the FBI stuck that in there? Are you saying the FBI stuck?
Sorry?
You understand the documents the FBI released, they say Lanza was visited by the CIA and recruited by him. Is that the FBI sticking that in there to go after the CIA?
FBI has it. Let me put it this way. The FBI is a totally corrupt, dysfunctional organization created by a cross-dresser homosexual who tried to manipulate presidents whom I worked with and was detested by Nixon, by many others in the system. What the FBI is now is a dysfunctional organization, as personified last night, where the head of counterterrorism was found drunk.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Mueller. I want to get into the Texas shooting. I want to get into what happened in Vegas. I want to get into the FBI and Mueller, who is past his eyeballs in Russian collusion. And so that's why he went after Trump and myself and everybody else, saying that we're Russian agents. And they have just hundreds of articles this week just saying, it's confirmed Jones works for the Russians. And it's just beyond bizarre to see them accuse Rand Paul, Tucker Carlson, and then meanwhile, Mueller is on tarmacs giving weapons-grade uranium to the FSB. That's the KGB. And the bagman, and killing investigations into the Clintons, and then appointing people like Phil Mudd, who was with the CIA, to the FBI, to go on television and say, we're going to kill the president. You don't see people in third world countries doing that. It's beyond Banana Republic. And then Mueller walks around, and I'm surprised they don't blow horns and go, dun, 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 the royal king is here. Unelected master, appointed by the Deputy Attorney General, the man who will decide who can be president and who will veto the voters. Oh, Robert, in bed with Russia, Mueller. And I'm like, is this really happening? I mean, if they had me on tarmacs with uranium to the Russians, I'd say arrest me. And I love how when he walks around with these other people, they all color coordinate and have the same ties, just different colors. And it's all like this fashion show where he walks real like he's powerful. Just everyone's like, look at me. And everyone goes, oh, it's Mueller. Oh, he's so... I mean, this is a new royalty. And the media spins that and goes, Jones believes that Mueller will be made literal king of Earth, Newsweek. Jones is totally insane. In between saying there's slave colonies on Mars, never said that. No video, no audio. In between saying there's Mars colonies of slaves, Jones says Mueller will be a king. I'm saying he's acting outside of government and law as a coup d'etat, just as Congressman Gates is now saying out of Florida. We're going to go back to Dr. Pachinik here in a moment, just briefly. We're under attack simply because we have memories and we are Americans. And we're not afraid of these people, and we don't want to be camp followers of their sickening barrel of snakes event that is Washington, D.C. We have free shipping as part of the 34-hour historic broadcast we completed last night that is going to have to end today. Free shipping, and we've got 50% off on our best-selling products, including all of the ball caps and Patriot apparel that help you spread the word and meet like-minded people. And you know, I mean, look, the average cost of T-shirts is like $9 right now. These are high quality. And a lot of them are limited edition. Infowarsstore.com or 888-253-3139. We've also got great Don't Tread on Me Infowars patches for folks that like to sew patches onto jackets, onto their motorcycle jackets or whatever. It's all there, and it's a great way to network and support the broadcast. Thousands of reviews, 5-star reviews for Super Female Vitality. So for Super Female Vitality, Biome Defense, the probiotic, back in stock, 50% off. All apparel, 50% off. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, 50% off. Secret 12, 50% off. Super Blue fluoride-free mouthwash with colloidal silver and iodine. Amazing. Free shipping on that, really, that is a major loss leader because it costs so much to ship it. DNA Force, back in stock. Can't do better for yourself and your family and for your mitochondria. And yeah, I mean, look what BioPQQ does, CoQ10. Keeps those telomeres in place. It's amazing. These specials have to end. Infowarsstore.com or 888-253-3139. Okay, going back to Dr. Steve Pachinek, psychiatrist, medical doctor, psychological warfare guy, done a lot of stuff, run operations, overturned governments, you name it. And he's been talking about the civil war inside our government, inside the intelligence agencies, and what he sees getting ready to happen in the Middle East, where he sees what's happening with Trump, what's going on with Mueller, the FBI, and where he sees this civil war, or if he uses that term, where he sees this power struggle right now. So tell us what you think about Trump, the whole 9 yards, where you currently see us, Dr. Pachinek.
Well, I think Trump did a very good job going into the Far East. I complimented him, and in one of my blogs recently, I just said I believe he may have made a deal through Russia and China to contain North Korea, and I think that's sufficient right now. And when he signaled into the press in the United States, don't worry, that was the real Trump. In other words, what you had when he was, blustering and saying things about Kim Jong-un was part of the art of the deal. In other words, for America to understand Trump, you really have to read his book. It's not that he's erratic or he's impulsive. It's that he believes that certain approach to people is very successful for him. And at this point in time, China was acquiesced, basically acted as a very good ally for us. Japan was excellent with us, and so was South Korea. He had a very good relationship with Mr. Moon, President Moon of South Korea. But what he reminded North Korea of, and this was very important, he had in one of his meetings with South Korea a woman from North Korea who had been a comfort woman for the Japanese when they controlled all of Korea. She was in her late 80s and 90s.
That means a sex slave.
Correct, a sex slave. Thank you, Alex. And that signaled into North Korea that, remember, the one country that Korea is totally frightened of, more than us, more than China, even Russia, is Japan, because they know how brutal Japan was to Korea over 100 years. So he used that to signal in to say, don't mess with us. He sent 3 to 4 aircraft carriers on ThinkTac. They did a great job.
Sure, so how is he doing a great job there, but now, because I was thinking it's good to have Saudi Arabia going after some of the radicals and breaking up some of the networks. I want to go back to that. The FBI, Mueller, his whole thing, where's that going?
In other words, he can control, there are many things that are cover-ups, and for whatever reason, he's allowed Mueller to remain. I agree with Bannon and with you and with others. He should have been dismissed and actually arrested. Mueller comes out of a very interesting background. The white Anglo-Saxon Protestant who served bravely in Vietnam and compromised his entire life and integrity for 9/11. And he was appointed the head of the FBI just before 9/11. This was part of the Bush gang, the Bush family, which should have been in prison, one of the most detrimental families to the American history. When Bannon correctly said 43 was a disaster, one of the worst presidents we've ever had, he really made the point.
Well, he's obviously a mental patient. W is a vegetable almost now.
Well, he's not only, he was an idiot to begin with and is an idiot now. But, it goes back to the father whom I worked with, and I kept quiet until he opened his mouth. about Trump, saying that he's a blowhard, and then I went right into Bush Sr. saying, number one, you better be careful because we know about the fact you weren't shut down. You ejected from that jet plane or the plane that you were in, and you were cowardly. Secondly, we know very well you were part of the Hinckley organization that tried to assassinate Reagan for the reasons that have to do with succession and the vice presidency and the fact that Reagan was far more demented than anybody knew. Now, that's not coming out. You see, the narrative that came out to America was a narrative that we had a great president, America first under Reagan. Nonsense. Reagan was already compromised. Nancy Reagan, who was more brilliant than anybody, was basically understood that...
Oh, she hated the Bushes. She said that. Stay there.
Mr. Speaker, we are at risk of a coup d'etat in this country if we allow an unaccountable person with no oversight to undermine the duly elected president of the United States. And I would offer that is precisely what is happening right now with the indisputable conflicts of interest that are present with Mr. Mueller and others at the Department of Justice. I join my colleague, the gentleman from Arizona, in calling for Mr. Mueller's resignation or his firing. Moreover, we absolutely have to see the Department of Justice appoint a special counsel to look into the Clinton Foundation, the Uranium One deal, and the Fusion GPS dossier that I will now have the opportunity to discuss. I really don't know who's investigating the Uranium One deal right now. I know that in July, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, along with 20 members of the Judiciary Committee, sent a letter to Attorney General Sessions asking who would be looking into these critical questions, demanding that a special counsel be appointed to conduct a thorough review. And it is extremely disappointing that the chairman of the Judiciary Committee and my fellow members have received no response from the Department of Justice as to that letter. I don't know whether the Attorney General's recusal on matters related to Russia impacts, influences, or in any way covers the future.
All right, that is House Representative Matt Gaetz, Republican Florida, who we're just seeing more and more great things from. Very, very excited about the work he's doing. And I'm just going to leave it at that. But he's really dialed into what's happening. And they're going around canvassing, saying, we're about to take Trump out extrajudicially. Are you going to go along with it? It's kind of a threat. Dr. Steve Pieczenik of stevepieczenik.com is our guest. I've got to ask you a question, Doc, just selfishly, because I respect you. You're one of the most accurate folks we've had on the last 15 years or so since I've been interviewing you, or 16 years now. When you look at this, it's creepy when they have Congressional House Intelligence Committee hearings, and they say at lunch, we're watching Infowars, and we've got to stop them. And the congressman says, yes, you must do a better job. And like, well, sir, we're having, the artificial system shut him down, but it's not perfect yet. And it's not grandstanding, demonizing us, say, on CNN. Because I know that I don't want to make us too important. We just kind of represent the populist Americana movement they hate. We're just a focal point of that. But they picked us up thinking it would hurt Trump and magnified us even more. And then I'm watching them with all the algorithms, admittedly, shut us down, but then it causes a Streisand effect. For every time they try to shut us down, it causes it to bang up even higher. And they're getting more and more frustrated to the point of, having op-eds saying, just take Alex Jones out. And I'm not even afraid personally of dying. I don't want to die, but it's a switch. You flip it off. I just feel bad if I'm here for my children. But these are bad people. They've got to be stood up against. But at the same time, I just want to have a free country and prosperity. I'm not fighting for the power trough like they are. And they just hate me so much. And I want to ask you, not just, oh, we're very effective and oh, this and that. I don't understand why they hate us this much and how they think they're going to beat us, because trying to destroy us has taken us from being supported by and large by the audience to now it's taken on a whole new thing, and people really get it now and really listen to me and our guests like yourself in the FBI, in the CIA, in the local police departments. And I mean, it's shocking how much the government listens now and has gone from kind of like, oh, he's quirky, but, you know, gets it right sometimes, to like really listening to what we say as if it's super authoritative, which compared to mainstream media it is, but I still make mistakes. I mean, it's, let me tell you, for 44 years old in this position, it is creepy. And it scares me that Infowars would be the thing they're most afraid of. Can you speak to that and to the audience? Because it's the audience they fear.
Well, they really fear you, quite frankly. And the reason they fear you, and I've said it for so long, is you are the only voice that could articulate our discontent, including mine. I mean, after 9/11, within minutes, I knew exactly who did it. I knew the names of the people. But even if I went on the air, it didn't have the same impact of an Alex Jones. Alex Jones isn't just a person. And this is what I've been saying all along. That's why you and I can disagree. But Alex Jones has become a persona of the liberation in the 21st century, of where we people, not the people in Los Angeles, New York, I live here, but the people who live in the South, in an agrarian society, in the Midwest, in Utah, who are tired of the lies and the betrayals and the wars that we've been in. They listen to you because for the first time, you're kind of the Walter Cronkite, if I can say that, of the internet age. You're beginning to say things that are happening, and it's occurring. Why do you and I come on the same show for 16 years? I don't go on any other show. Why are they so afraid of me that supposedly I can take them down? Sure, I could take them down, but we're doing it already, my friend. The minute Hillary Clinton pointed her finger at you as the problem, we had already won a war, and she was finished. When you wake up the people to the truth, it's very dangerous to those in the system. I'm not in the system. Ironically, I have all those degrees, MIT, Harvard, but they knew they could not control me. Even though I was trained to be into the intelligence service or the State Department, they couldn't control me. What kind of a guy? You and I are very similar. When they promoted me to Rear Admiral, I said, are you nuts? I'm not taking your Rear Admiral. I'm not taking your money. I just want to mess up in this country because I wasn't born here. And I went out just like you did, and most of America.
Well, let me just add this point, because it's, again, I see the sycophantic behavior, the power trips the red carpet. I say this not to say that I don't want the power. I'm saying it that it's the opposite with this level of responsibility. I can't stand myself most of the time because I want to do a better job. I want to really get it right, and I don't. And then I realize the responsibility is it isn't me. It's all the guests. It's the listeners. It's something that's been built up as an archetype, and that's why they're trying to destroy me, the person, because they're trying to destroy the image of hope and resistance and not caring when you get attacked. And that's what they hate. But then it's the responsibility of having that much responsibility. And then I look at these people who want power, but then when they get it, they have no responsibility. They just want to, like, basically showboat around all day, and that's what disgusts me.
Well, that's the point. You see, what you've done is to say, look, the emperor has no clothes. There is no power. Mueller really has no power. Jeff Sessions should be thrown out. Honestly, he's too weak. All of those politicians are weak. By nature, they go into politics to self-aggrandize. You don't go into politics to, if you want to build a company or you want to build a radio show or you want to write novels. You go into politics because you want to self-aggrandize and manipulate, but you're not that good at it. So you have 80-year-old Dianne Feinstein, you have 80-year-old McCain, and it's become a joke. You have a Mueller who was already criminally indicted for what he did in 9/11, for what he did in Russia. He knows that. He knows he's corrupt to his soul, but he has to come back and try to make believe that he's not corrupt. But he's corrupt. Comey's corrupt. Half of that FBI is corrupt.
Well, let me ask you this question then. Don't they societally, culturally know the worms turned globally, and that they, even if they got you or me or Trump or anybody, that only makes it bigger? Don't they understand they're on the wrong side of history? The tide has moved on? No. They didn't understand it from the day 9/11 occurred, and they all were conspirators
with that moron Bush, and before him, his father, who wasn't very bright. And so you have a moronic family where Neil and Marvin create the SNL crisis in Maryland. Then they come back and create the same crisis, 2006, with the banking crisis. So what you have are idiots repeating their same activity until nobody takes them out or nobody arrests them.
Why do they have so much power? Because Prescott was the main lawyer when Nazi Germany failed and did get a lot of the money. It's been rumored to be in the trillions in today's numbers. I mean, is that really, did you ever, no, that's all super classified, but did you ever come across them and the Nazi money?
Yes. Well, the issue of Prescott is he was not a very bright man. He was a man who was kind of the toady for Brown and Harriman Company. The major man there was Harriman, governor. He was far more...
No, I understand what I'm saying. After World War II, the word is they got the keys to the kingdom.
That's correct. So did Allen Dulles and his brother, all of whom worked for the Nazis, all of whom allowed the factories to go on, all of whom...
Well, I mean, as we know, the Kennedys were basically Nazi agents.
Correct.
Let's come back in 70 seconds and talk about that with Dr. Steve Pachenik. Then I'm going to get into tons of news and a bunch of incredible clips in the third hour. It's going to be a must listen, folks. It's always good to get Dr. Steve Pachenik on and talk about the waterfront here. We have a guest who's been in the Army and intelligence and is in a private contractor, and he got picked up for a couple of days by the FBI, but was let out. He's getting a lawyer, going to come back on, and he's saying that Vegas and a bunch of other stuff is deep state things to get at Trump and Civil War things. I just see how the media is using it. But in the 4 or 5 minutes we have left here before I come back and cover a bunch of news, you've got the Air Force caught running this race hoax thing. We've got clear social engineering going on to divide the country, but it's not working, and prosperity's coming back. And you heard that clip earlier of the congressman in Florida basically saying Mueller's trying to engage in some form of legalistic coup. But again, if they indict the president, he's separate. And so it would have to then be an impeachment that would come from that. And that's to overturn an elected president when the person running the investigation is in bed with the Russians. It's beyond any level of hypocrisy I've ever seen, Dr. Pachenik. Where do you see this ending?
I see it ending with Mueller being fired. I see it ending with the head of the FBI once again being fired. I see Jeff Sessions being fired. I see all the weak, compromised individuals around Trump, who Bannon pointed out, being fired. And I do see Jared possibly getting indicted for collusion and collusive activities. I am not as upset as you are about what's happening, because you have been the spear of what America needs. But you have to remember, none of these people from Boston to Washington to New York have ever been and understood the rural South, the Midwest, Texas, or Austin. They have no idea what Austin means. I knew what Austin meant 20 years ago. I knew it would be the focal center of power away from Washington, D.C. So what you see is the devolution of federal power, the fact we don't need an FBI, we don't need Homeland Security, we don't need all these nonsensical, false flags, which had no purpose whatsoever other than to try to justify having a huge bureaucracy, which is worthless. It's just a place where jobs are being handed out. Mueller isn't only the problem. I mean, if you want to talk about Nazi history, where did Mengele get funded? The doctor who supposedly tortured all the Jews. You see, Israel doesn't talk about it. Neither do the American Jews talk about it, because they don't have any idea. But I'll tell you exactly who funded Mengele. Mengele was funded by the Carnegie Endowment, the Rockefeller Brothers, Stanford University, and Harvard. Now,
that's right. He was funded by Cold Springs Harbor in New York and to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute, and literally, yeah.
Now we have never talked, you and I have never talked about the real corrupt institutions where, unfortunately, they're raping our students, and that is the colleges and universities. Cornell University, where I went, the feeding ground for the neocons for 9/11, Wolfowitz, Hadley, all of those guys, Fukuyama, all part of that 9/11 thing. Cornell never wanted to address it. When I addressed Cornell Medical School and said you were sold out after 150 years to a crook, Sandy Weil, they didn't want to address it. The same thing I said about Harvard. You didn't want to address it. Each institution in the Ivy League is so compromised because I've been there and I went through them so fast, not because I'm that smart, but that because they're so incompetent. Even when I went to MIT, I saw the nonsense that was being taught in the guise of engineering and social science. It wasn't an accident. I was trained on the internet in the 1970s by men like Lucian Pye, Itfield de Solopool, Ben Calvin, guys who really cared about America. But one thing was important. They had all served in the military. When you don't serve in our military or you don't serve our country, you do not have the respect of the elan vital that you need to be like you are, Alex. And in effect, you're serving our country. But you don't have to be a military officer to become a
I have one more question if you can do a few more minutes. I want to ask you about all the former presidents except for Carter. There's several big issues here. There is the incredible aged nature of the current globalist elite that basically inherited the technology and the hard work of past generations, parlayed it into global power and to their own incredibly fabulous wealth. And then they had to hate America while they were using it and sucking it dry. And they put operatives in who hated America because if you're going to be willing to sell out your own countrymen, well, then you've got to have some type of inherent hatred for them. And so there was a process of people getting more and more extreme in the globalist structure, hating their own cultures, hating their own nationhood, hating their system, because it's hard to get enough sociopaths who'll just do it to be mercenaries. You've got to get enough people that actually hate the country because they believe it. And that's why you get the SJW, liberal, anti-America, anti-Christian, anti-God type brainwashing. Now, there was a photo a few weeks ago of Lady Gaga with 5 of the past presidents, and 4 of those presidents the next week, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, and Barack Obama all came out scripted calling President Trump different names. Jimmy Carter said what's happening to the president's wrong, and he's actually doing a pretty good job, and the election was stolen, Hillary stole it. Then you saw Donald Brazil come out and say that and say, hey, Seth Rich was killed politically, we should investigate. This shows civil wars within the power structure. But it shows the disconnect of people still running things. They would think having the unpopular former presidents come out against Trump and that would somehow hurt him. Then they come out with more fake polls, just like they did during the election. Trump's up at 65%. So again, what's crazy is to see the old so-called elite, these corrupt folks that hijacked our country and then hated it at the same time, just classic projection, ruling over the nation, running it in the ground. It shows their fundamental disconnect. It's theirs. They had it. Why run it in the ground? I mean, Trump's not even perfect. He doesn't want to run this beautiful horse into the ground. Why not put it out for stud and free the whole planet? Again, it's the pissant. It's what I call privately the chicken you-know-what dimension. The chicken SH you-know-what dimension. I'm coining that term here. It's a private term I've had for years. They just want to screw people over and not have prosperity and weaken the host because they just have such bad instincts. They're just so mentally ill. I don't have a psychiatry degree like Dr. Steve Pachenik, and I haven't run, mental institutions like he has. I just use my own lay terms to describe the false, delusional smugness of a moron like George W. Bush, who looks like an elf that's had a lobotomy. So just in closing, what does it telegraph? Am I wrong or am I right? That they think attacking Trump makes them strong, and they think fake polls make them strong, and you really study them, it's true. They're living like a creature that stole something else's shell. They didn't produce the shell. They just moved into the ruins of civilization and then believe they are civilization, but also are threatened by the shininess of the ghost of the Renaissance. They're just losers.
You articulate very well. Let me just say, you picked the right president. I worked with Jimmy Carter. I wasn't always in agreement. The one thing that Jimmy Carter did have, he was a Baptist. He was a Christian, a Christian who believed in the faith. And one other thing he did, the only president of the United States who got rid of 4,000 CIA operatives. I can't And guess who he put in? He put the #1 admiral at the Naval Academy, Stanfield Turner, who I worked with, to be the head of the CIA. And Jimmy Carter is the only president who has made peace in the last 50 years in Israel.
Sure, but my question is, why is he the only one to break with the other presidents in a concerted attack on Trump?
#1, he's a Baptist. #2, he was highly educated at the Naval Academy. He knew our history. He was governor.
Well, sure, he's a nuclear physicist. He's a nuclear physicist. But what I'm saying is he had his problems, and I didn't. But he was manipulated. I agree. But what does it signify that he basically came out and backed Trump? All the others came out against him, thinking.
Because he understood that the problems of a presidency isn't just about the rhetoric. What you had, and also he didn't come out of the CIA. You have Bush Sr., CIA, 1957, not 1971. 57, you have Bush Jr., CIA. You have Obama, what I call the black baby of the CIA. Mother worked in Indonesia. She was an anthropologist who spoke Russian. You have Clinton, CIA. Bill Clinton was reporting to agents and never studied at Oxford University. And he was covered by another CIA operative from Yale called Stroke Talbot. So you have this insidious organization, two of them, the FBI and CIA, that work in the dark and really are not effective for American democracy. What Carter did was to clean out the CIA and literally put it into the military structure, which is what we had hoped to happen here. But I'm hoping, and maybe that's where I'm really angry with, is that we don't continue to go to war. Trump said we won't go to war, and I believe him. We didn't go to war in North Korea, and hopefully we don't.
But he's being manipulated into it because he's still being ignored by a lot of folks. Why,
correct.
You're more and more being proven right about Kelly. I mean, you kind of really jumped on me because I mean the news was saying Kelly was.
Not only that. Let me explain something. It's not about being right or wrong. You and I will never disagree about that. What we have to understand, it's really the emphasis on this syllable. In other words, what is important at a particular time? You and I are in the right place. We're both being attacked. You're being attacked. I'm being attacked. There's no question that Google works for the National Geospatial Agency and that Amazon has contracts from the CIA. What are we talking about? We're talking about another dimension where companies are so big they override any government institution, so the government institutions become part of that big company. So you have FANG, you have all those Facebooks, Amazon.
And Trump needs to go after Facebook, Google, and
yes.
Twitter and these monopolies.
Yes. He has to go after Facebook. He has to go after Bezos.
Let me ask you this. Why are they so arrogant to say, the head of operations for Twitter, don't worry, I censored Alex Jones and Paul Watson at lunch. And he's talking to a congressman going, oh, you saw it too? Yes, they're the top story. Don't worry, sir, we killed it.
It's the arrogance of power and stupidity. These are all spoiled little brats whom I happen to know from Stanford. They all went up 20, 30 years ago and have created nothing but a little bit of 1 and 0 numbers put together, and they've created nothing. You become the target in a way that allows us to attack the others, these people. So when Google
of course, it's totally dumb to say on national television we're censoring people in live time because they say a Muslim ran over people with a car. It was true, by the way. I mean, it's just that they're crazy.
I understand, but you let them do that. They continue to do that. But see how dangerous it became when Rand Paul, a senator, a doctor, an ophthalmologist, a brilliant man, was attacked, quote, by a neighbor for his beliefs. I think there's more underneath that. You do not break the ribs of a major senator and get away with it.
And notice the guy hadn't gotten in trouble. Class 4 felony. That's like jaywalking. I mean, Class 4 misdemeanor, excuse me.
I want that man to go to prison, but I also want the head of Google to go to prison because they're manipulating. They have overseas accounts in the Cayman Islands. You want to see how arrogant these guys are, how arrogant our universities are? Go to the Cayman Islands, go to Bermuda, and you'll see how they avoid taxes.
Absolutely, and they're cornered rats now, and they know they're in trouble. That's why they're so desperate, and they're afraid of we the people. Dr. Steve Pieczenik, StevePieczenik.com, great books and info there. Thank you for the time.
You're Thank you, Alex. And God bless you.
When we come back, the former president of Facebook admits it is a psych warfare operation to literally depress you and enslave you. You're going to see the video on the other side. I'm Alex Jones. Please spread the live links to the show. All right, let me get into the serious news and clips now. It came out earlier this year when Australian executives of Facebook leaked documents that made major publications, surprisingly enough, that Facebook targets users that they think are alone, lonely, and depressed, and then tries to use computer psychological warfare algorithms to keep them on Facebook, keep them depressed, and sell things to them because they're depressed. Now, I've said that for years. You can see the models of all this. And this headline of the London Guardian, if you understand this, you understand everything. Ex-Facebook president Sean Parker, site made to exploit human vulnerability, to make people depressed, to target children, to target people that are alone. And if you read deeper into the documents, target liberals. Make them afraid of conservatives. Make them afraid of capitalism. Make them afraid of going outside. And then have bots that manage them that are like fake friends that look like real people. And then that'll gather some other real people together to then get in an echo chamber. See, I learned a lot about them, what they would always accuse me of. Jones is an expert in deception. He gets an echo chamber going, and then he wants the dumbest followers, and he targets them, and he tries to make them scared. And I'm like, I'm trying to empower people. I'm trying to get them to take action. I'm trying to build a better world, because I'm not exploiting human vulnerability. I'm trying to show you vulnerabilities, and I'm trying to exploit in a good way massive human expansion for myself and my children. The only reason I want wealth is to defeat the enemy that wants to take me down, and so that my children can hopefully be educated and smart enough to exploit the high-tech technologies that don't give up their consciousness but do extend their lives. But death is part of God's overall plan, so I don't want my children to live forever. I want them to live forever through their children, but I've got to be honest. I selfishly don't like having children because someday they've got to die. But I selfishly love them so much and want them to experience consciousness and God's gift that I intend to have more. But I love them so much that it hurts. You know how it hurts. And when I see other children and other people, and I see the zombies of the globalists, it hurts me that they're so fallen. Not that I'm so high, but that I am aware of where they are. Then I catch myself like leaning on a cane or taking a lot of drink before you go up to be executed. Or like a man takes wine before he has to fight. That they're so absolutely destroyed and fallen. And I'll lean on kind of getting evil sometimes in private life and giggling and snickering at the enemies, how twisted, how hunchback spiritually, how pathetic they are. But then I see that's a human that fell completely. And I catch myself being dominant above them and being awake and being light years ahead of them, even though I'm pathetic compared to God's great consciousness. And that's, I just can't take the break or the enjoyment that we're beating them or that they're pathetic and they're stupid, because there's really no pleasure in that. It's not real. There's a false kind of exultation, invigoration over defeating your enemy or being better than them in their fallen, worldly, flesh-filled, twisted position of a Nancy Pelosi or a John McCain. But then I realized, hey, that zombie creature, that demon-possessed, husk has almost destroyed humanity. So you laugh at that at your own peril, because there's power in the masses of these zombies and the zombie kings, like Barack Obama or George W. Bush or Michael Moore. I mean, these zombie kings, they're dangerous. And that their unfeeling soullessness, their lack of empathy, and all their counterfeits they projected us, it's something else entirely. So let me start playing some of these clips. Ex-Facebook President Sean Parker, site made to exploit human vulnerability. Imagine something meant to supercharge human potential. I mean, imagine thinking like that. But what unifies these globalists is they want to exploit stupid people, so they want to make more stupid people, as if that doesn't blow back on them. It's very one-dimensional. But Sean Parker obviously has some soul, in that he thinks calling your users dumb effers, oh, our users trust us, they're dumb effers, he thinks that's a bad idea. But see, if you think you're separate from humanity, you're a psychopath like Mark Zuckerberg, you go, I'm totally different from these people. They're not like me. Oh, I'm a god. No, you are a defect cancer cell that thinks it's dominant because it's replicating and taking over. You are not what you claim you are. So we're going to play these clips when we come back. And then I'm just going to play clip after clip of a bunch of other big news I've got. And then we're going to go into the fourth hour today with Mike Cernovich hosting and so much more. We concluded the 34-hour live transmission last night at 6 o'clock. But we're live here now 10 hours a day from 8 a.m. until 6 o'clock at night. And we have some other live broadcasts as well. So more than 10 hours a day. And thank you all for your support. The globalists, the big tech companies admit they're censoring us in live time because we told you there was a truck attack last week, and that a prominent imam had warned the mayor about it on Fox News. And it was all true, but they on national television said that, oh, don't worry, we blocked that story. We're not going to let our viewers see that because, quote, it might upset them. We want you to have a good experience. Talk about gilded blinders. So here's Sean Parker, a couple clips we're going to play, telling us what we already know. But see, Facebook users that are leftist, they think they're part of a winning team. They're part of this big liberal community, and that's how they reach their friends. And the whole thing is there to exploit them and to make them more depressed. And then Facebook runs ads for psychological services, Prozac-type drugs. Google also has similar deals where Google pops up and has psychological surveys meant to induct you in, just like they do in public schools, to being mentally ill, make you depressed, get you inserted into the psychiatric system, and then blow you away. Put them on the grid, let them play for a while, and then blow them away. A nice little computer doctor to suck everything out of you and take your hope and run your life and know everything about you and every piece of food you eat, you name it, your soul, and then let them blow you away. And Sean Parker, some of the early money in Facebook, the guy with Napster, all of it, he comes out and says, God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains. Well, actually, we do know, Mr. Parker. It's lowering attention spans, lowering IQ, creating what I call screen sickness. It's amazing where they're now learning to only communicate through computers to other people. To get to their friends, they communicate through the computer that's watching and tracking them, but then it controls the interactions and becomes the friend itself because it's a human-machine interface. With two humans interfacing through a machine, it's like having sex with a robot. But you're talking to your boyfriend while you do it, so you start thinking the robot is your boyfriend. See, they want to make us the machines. They want to make us comply. But Zuckerberg, he's not going to wear the virtual reality goggles. He's going to pose that photo where he walks among his slaves, crouched over their computers wearing goggles. They're in his world now, and they see whatever he wants. Zuckerberg is a god. But you look at him, you just see a creepy psychopath. Okay. We got contacted by Facebook yesterday. I'm not going to get into it yet. But they think we're so stupid. It's so ridiculous. They didn't like what I was saying about old Zook yesterday, and they wanted to stop. I don't think so, Mr. Zookie. Mr. Robot Boy. Oh, Mr. Zuckerberg's a front man. You make no mistake about that. But anyways, let's go ahead and go to Mr. Parker. Sean Parker might want to try to keep his soul, or at least hedge his bets. Here it is.
That thought process was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. And that means that we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. And that's going to get you to contribute more content, and that's going to get you, more likes and comments. I mean, it's a social validation feedback loop that it's like it's exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. And I think that the inventors, creators, and it's me, it's Mark, it's the, Kevin Systrom at Instagram, it's all of these people, understood this consciously, and we did it anyway.
Much worse than that, of course. But remember now, you've got a decade or more of people totally bathed in this, and you wonder why they look like whacked out zombies and don't care how they look and are totally insane, because they got hit with a psychological warfare weapon. Now, above that, there's another guild of the total zombies above them who kind of get it and go, we don't care, we've been screwed over, we like it, and we're going to screw you over. And then they try to mimic the bosses above them. And that's how psychopaths work. So they're not really genetic psychopaths, but they're trying to learn. They're mimicking. I can't believe our users trust us dumb effers. Because if you're going to hurt people, you might as well have disdain for them. And it's all about him. It's all about me. It's all about Zuckerberg. And he's smart like Google. He hadn't done the super censoring yet. Like Twitter is just all out. They don't get, they're going to destroy themselves. No. You want to be the last big group that doesn't get hit with antitrust stuff, and then you can censor everybody. You want to be the last, that's the whole plan, the last humanoid merging with the great machine. And then everything else on the planet is just, it'll take maybe a week once you turn nanobots loose to chew everything up and use it for fuel for the big space warp jumps. Because obviously you got to conquer the universe once you've conquered Earth. I mean, that's the, and by the way, they all write that. The minute they merge with the machine, they're going to turn on the big city constructors they'll have soon. Oh, look, we built new city blocks in just a month. And it'll be in days, in weeks, in hours. As long as the raw material gets delivered up by the driverless cars and the big and the big city printing machine. And then once they merge the machine, they'll try to cut each other off, wipe the others out, and then go, launch operation. Everything. In days. Whole Earth chewed up, fed in, blast off. And incoming. AI, psychopath-driven consciousness coming into the universe. And I mean, that's obviously Satan's plan. Don't think he's tried this before, think a few times. So, and what's crazy is, I'd have dreams about this 20, 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And I thought, man, these would be great science fiction books. And then I'm like reading Kurzweil and reading all these guys, and they're going, this is what we're going to do. And you're like, oh my God, I jacked into the ether. These guys are like Unbelievable. But don't you think God that created us would warn us of this 2,000 years ago? On the Isle of Patmos, John the Revelator? World government, a mark in your hand to buy and sell, an image of the beast, seen everywhere worldwide, everyone watching him talk, television. You want some of what that guy's smoking? In Ezekiel, these big ships land, and the guys have got, it says blue helmets, crystal helmets on, and they walk over and they go to Ezekiel, they go, take this. And he takes it, falls over, and gets this whole data download. And whether you believe this or not, folks, the whole point is just that it's in Ezekiel. And it's the same thing with John on the Isle of Patmos. And he sees world government. He sees billions dead. He sees mark of the beast. And even though we've got that warning, will we listen to it? Because we're a free will universe. I didn't even get to the next clip here. I just cannot ever get to clips. Let's play Sean Parker. Did we play the first clip or the second clip? Yeah, you guys open your mic. You didn't talk. I'm going to play the second clip. I want to play the first clip. So we're going to go to break and play that clip. Just briefly, ladies and gentlemen, we have limited resources. We don't have the big company store, Amazon, and all their other garbage, and the the government giving them no bid contracts to run everything. We just have you funding us. But for every dollar we bring in, it defeats $1 million of their stolen money. So InfoWarsStore.com, free shipping. It's got to end today. Bunch of big specials on our top-selling products. Some of them are loss leaders, the prices they are, especially if you sign up for auto shipping, additional 10% off. So take advantage of that, InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. But please commit to support the broadcast. Whatever you do, get some of the T-shirts and spread the word. Thank you all for your support. We'll be back. I mean, think about how amazing it is. Alex Jones here, back live. That the former head of Facebook says, we started it to exploit you and use your weaknesses and manipulate your dopamine levels. I mean, imagine if we came up with a program where when you post articles against the globalists or promote human liberty, little stars go, bing, good job, like you won a video game. That's what they make Facebook like. And then you got a like and you got a friend. And it's like you're still in junior high trying to be cool. It's all about arrested development. You don't just think Sean Parker and Mark Zuckerberg and all these guys just suddenly came up with all this. Everything for 100 years, this is all declassified, has been about arresting development, keeping you like a teenager so you feel insecure and never grow up and go, I don't care about Hollywood. I don't care about politicians. I don't care about some guy acting cool. They want to keep you like insecure and nervous and real, I'll be whatever group you say. I'll be liberal. I'll be whatever. It's just like the Christian church has been manipulated to make people all upset and neurotic. It's the same thing. And they just take the grandkids of people and the children of people that were like super anal retentive Christians, you know, that thought going to the bathroom was a sin or whatever, literally. And just, it's the new political correctness. And you try to go to them and say, Facebook admits it's trying to keep you poor and stupid and trying to make you depressed. Just like Hillary said in the WikiLeaks. She said, these stupid baristas and liberal scum, I hate them. They're so pathetic. Just look at them. Ugh, crap. We need to keep them in the dark, keep them pathetic. What do we do? Well, our top professor says just expand culture war. And that's what you see. If you don't like Obamacare, you're in the KKK. But we rejected Hillary. I mean, look at the establishment thought they could run a witch in action, a witch in optics. And now they run fake polls against Trump constantly. It's the same BS over and over and over and over again. But remember, for people that still bought the Kool-Aid, for those of us that are awake, it gets more ridiculous. But for those under it, they're like, there's Nazis everywhere. They're killing us. Oh, my gosh, we're all dead. I mean, they are really, the stock market's up. Jobs are coming back. No, stop it. Just leave her alone. Because they have no power. They live vicariously. I see these news articles they write about me all the time. And they're like, tattling on me to like make up stuff I didn't do or twist it and go, look, Jones did this. Someone sue him. Someone arrest him. Someone kill him. But they don't ever do it themselves. They always just cry like babies and go, Gah! And you want to laugh at them, and I do laugh at them. But it's not funny. They know psychology. They have created these people. And you can go to them and say, here's where they admit they created you. I'd like you to be oh, shut up and stop showing off. Whatever, shut up. So here is another clip. Sean Parker, God only knows what is going to do to our children. Well, they already know what they've done. Disassociative, low IQs, unable to communicate. It's called autism. A lot of it's chemical, but a lot of it's also cultural. It's lack of communication. We are, well, you give babies the bad formula. Their brains are a third smaller. They didn't get the love. They were sat in front of a television. They're just receivers. They're not transmitters. They're androids. They're pretty close to soulless. And they've got that mentally ill confidence, though. Defense mechanisms where they're just like, but if you try to get it there, then if you try to get them out of it, shut up, I know what I'm doing. I'll play video games all day and I'll repeat jokes I saw on television. And then when they're like, back to, and they're just getting them ready when the bioweapon gets released, or the chemical weapons. They already released the chemical weapons. It's just the binary weapons, so that nobody gets too freaked out. You know, when they beta test and 10% of your country gets killed, and then it's 80% next, and then they're going to kind of get on to, the transmission lines. Then it'll be right to your head. And just say, they already have that. They'll be like, we did it. Here's the plan. Come accept total control and plug into the main system or you're dead. It's going to be just like Tron. I mean, like, here in the central system, childhood's in. You can have steak 5 times a day and do whatever you want, but your consciousness is plugged into this. I'm taking you over. Because you keep asking how the computer is going to become truly conscious in God. Well, it's called Satan. You're going to plug your ass into it. And then we're going to take your body, and we're going to burn it up, and we're going to shoot the ashes and the gas into the atmosphere. You see? And then pretend that you never had a soul. Because that's really the trick. Getting the humans from birth to try to fool the soul from birth, well, from the embryonic stage through birth, into the matrix, to believe that the false system is creation, to then give your soul to it in an assembly line fashion. That's really what they're looking for. Oh, look at Zuckerberg. Oh, souls never tasted so good. But it's kind of like the cheesy Pirates of the Caribbean and the Curse of the Black Pearl. You can drink all the wine you want. You can drink all the blood you want. But you're never going to be human, Zucker. You're just a shade for something else to stick its big, ugly, stinky arm into our dimension and try to tear up as much pretty stuff as you can because you know you're ugly and you're stinky and you're a loser. You're a big pile of pus. And you know, we know, and you can't stand it. But I know the left, the globalists, the Satanists brag. They say, hey, Jones, they even said this in news articles. They go, Jones, you keep trying. We got your kids. We're going to get your guns. Yeah. But see, that's just them putting on a face of confidence. They don't really have any emotions. You have to remember that unless they're doing bad things. So it's all a facsimile, okay, because it's fake. Why is Kevin Spacey a good actor playing psychopaths? Because he is an actor. Everything is little affects he's learned to put on to you to try to lure you in, see? But that's all there is. And can you imagine just this dull thing that doesn't know art, literature, culture, God. It's like really cold and freaked out. And all it knows is it seems alive when it's got a 10-year-old bent over, crying for mommy. Like the only time, understand this, the only time they're alive is when they're hurting you. So you go, why does everything they do hurt us? Lower IQ, poisonous. Because they're fallen. They only resonate with death and ugliness. They're so happy when they got a toddler hanging up by their toes. Now, let's go ahead and go back to Mr. Parker. Almost, he's enjoying it. How we knew and we did it. He's like, it's kind of like whenever we saw Gruber on TV going, thank God Americans are so stupid. Thank God they have no attention span. They're so... And the other professors are going, so, sir, tell us how you lie. You're so sexy. Oh, they're just like, oh, they're fawning. Here it is.
And then they would say, no. I value my real life interactions. I value the moment. I value presence, and I value intimacy. And I would say, well, you're a conscientious objector. That's okay. You don't have to participate, but we'll get you eventually. and like, I don't know if I really understood the consequences of what I was saying. Because the unintended consequences of a network when it grows to 1 billion or 2 billion people, and it literally changes your relationship with society, with cancer. Each other, with it probably interferes with productivity in weird ways. It kills you. God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains. Anxiety is a huge problem now. Of course,
I'm going to come back with the rest of this in the next segment. Oh, anxiety is a huge problem when they said by 2020 they'll have half the public on Prozac? I mean, maybe Parker's a good guy, but he's a smart guy. I mean, he obviously knows, right? But maybe that's why he was kicked out of the company he helped create, because he isn't fully committed to total human exterminism when they launch the nanotech revolution takeover that will chew the entire planet up within 2 days when they launch it. I didn't drop the ball, but I really should have led the broadcast today with former Facebook president admits they are targeting your weaknesses and trying to control your life, and they've done a great job disrupting society. But see, he's there wondering why they all did it. He was put in that position. He was then removed because he didn't like going along with it. I'm talking about Sean Parker. It's in all the white papers, Mr. Parker, if you don't know about him, and I'm sure you do. You're a smart guy. This is all a plan to make people disassociative, not have personalities, not have relationships, to atomize the population. It's in your own documents. Not just what you're saying now. I'm glad you're warning people, but why not bring up the Facebook documents that came out this year elaborating on what you're just confirming? But observation is true science. I don't need to hear what you say to know it's true. I can observe the results, and all of it is bad. Unless you're getting ready for people to be replaced by machines. Planned obsolescence has a new meaning when it comes to people and why the future doesn't need us. The decision, Mr. Parker, was made before you were born to carry out this operation. But I'm glad you're starting to get panicked like Elon Musk and others that have a soul, because if you have a trajectory that's meant to be anti-human, do you really trust the psychopaths that are running things to even deliver? They're going to take your billions. You're not going to get it. You're going to be killed. Once they've got their systems plugged in, which they're close to, things are going to move lightning speed. And, I'm not afraid, because I've just got to get my relationship with God right. That's what really counts. But I know I'm right because I'm going off what they said. They were writing this stuff 50 years ago. They're now saying it on TV. But that's why people keep saying, Jones, how do you keep being proven right? How do you know this? Are you one of them? One of them? They only tried to hire me repeatedly because they buy everybody up. Most people that know what's going on join them. They think I'm a dumbass because I'm not a psychopath and don't want to feed on you and don't get off on how stupid people are. That's what's so frustrating to the left and all the globalists and the minions. Most of you are total minions of this, and you still think you're part of it like you got a seat at the table because you want to belong because you have arrested development. Let's play this clip. Here it is.
And then they would say, no. I value my real life interactions. I value the moment. I value presence, and I value intimacy. And I would say, well, you're a conscientious objector. That's okay. You don't have to participate, but we'll get you eventually. and like, I don't know if I really understood the consequences of what I was saying.
And this is Tinker Toys.
Because the unintended consequences of a network when it grows to 1 billion or 2 billion people, and it literally changes your relationship with society, with each other, with it probably interferes with productivity in weird ways. God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains. Anxiety is a huge problem now. Of course, anxiety was always a big problem in high school. Who didn't have anxiety in high school? But the surveys that have been going on for years are showing a huge rise in anxiety amongst high school kids and younger. And you have to wonder if there isn't some, if the thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first.
We're going to come right back. And Mike Cernovich is taking over right now. I've been playing all day these intriguing clips. And I'm going to play more of the interview this Sunday. I'm going to really get into this. Of Sean Parker, the former president of Facebook, saying it's destroying productivity, it's destroying lives, it's wrecking everything. But don't worry, we're going to have solutions for the crisis. That's the next part of the business. Because you've always got to have the good guys now that come in and explain, we didn't know what we were doing. We've got things to mitigate what happened with what we've all just been through with Facebook and the rest of it. But he starts saying, I wonder if they knew what they were doing. So he's talking to the public like they're children, I guess in a smart way, to try to get them to realize what's happened to them. Wanting to be liked, wanting to be in the cool club, wanting to be in the arrested development zone. And then going out and having all these imaginary friends. And as long as you were nothing but purely positive, well, you might get a whole bunch of friends, but you gave up your real identity, and then they weren't even real friends, most of them. They were bots. They were sock puppets. They were lies. And they were there to actually maneuver you ever so slowly into being more isolated, more alone, only spending all your time with them. Now, we've used Facebook to go inject information warfare, to expose what's going on, to try to reach out to people. And that's why Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they're all saying in congressional hearings, the director of operations at Twitter, the number 2 guy in the company says, did you see what Infowars did at lunch? Yes, sir, we caught it, and we deleted it. We'll do a better job next time, says Congressman Quigley. I'm not kidding. This shows how vulnerable these jerks are. If America and the world wakes up to these scams, it's over. And I think genuinely, Sean Parker, because he's been kicked out of a lot of the things he helped fund and create, Napster, this, you name it, is legitimately not anti-human and is really trying to warn people, I think, overall here. But there's still a little bit of, snickering about it going on. That's the duality of man. But anybody that thinks you turn on systems like this and then you in the end up winning because you screw over a bunch of other people, it's going to blow back on you. And that's why globalists, no one in the EU has kids now in the EU government. because they're so selfish, but they're also know they've made a deal to party and eat steak with this eugenics operation, and that they're riding the express elevator to hell. And a lot of them do it through fear, too. It's not just status. They're like, this is really scary, and I'm smart, and I've been let in on it, so I'm going to go along with it and try to position myself to, do better. Like if aliens showed up and said, we're going to kill everybody in 10 years, but work with us. You can live for 10 years. But your kids can't go into the future, and we're going to kill all of you. But just go have fun, and we'll make you a rock star. That's not fun. And that's basically what this is. It's psychopaths that now have tools, and sociopaths and camp followers and insecure people below them that will do anything for substance, anything for power, anything to feel like they're finally winners. And it's all a lie. It's all done not to advance humanity, but to quote Mr. Parker, exploit our weaknesses and make us weaker. Hey, we're running a thing that dumb effers use, to use Zuckerberg's term, and it's meant to exploit you and make you weaker and make you desperate and alone, just like Hillary in the WikiLeaks says, I want them in the dark, cold, and alone. I want our constituents in the dark. Wow. I want them in the dark. I want them desperate. I want our species to go to the next level. I want us to have incredible adventures. I want my progeny to be incredibly, and yours together. I'm a lover. But not these people. They are evil. I want to get Mike Cernovich's take on this, but let's finish up with the end of what Parker was saying. Here it is.
The surveys that have been going on for years are showing a huge rise in anxiety amongst high school kids and younger. And you have to wonder if there isn't some, if the thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first of them, to really understand it, that thought process was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible.
Now, see, he signed a non-disclosure agreement. So he's only saying, hey, we might want to look at this, but it's in all the documents that came out this year. It's way beyond what the Guardian said Facebook told advertisers it can identify teens feeling insecure and worthless. They magnify that to literally take control and hack their brain and then turn them into a operative in your house. You don't just think they want to turn on your television and record you or use a smartphone to track you or the Verizon router. They want you. They want control. And they're all battling with each other for who gets control of the final interface, which one will merge with, in their own words, and then they're going to exterminate everybody else. Because we're the fallen species. They're really fallen. They're going to transcend us, you have to understand. So, Mike Cernovich, you got a lot to cover today, but I wanted to get your take on this. Why do you think so many people inside the technocracy, from Donna Brazile to Sean Parker, are speaking out? Are they finally realizing the end game of the New World Order is total human exterminism?
Well, I mean, Dostoevsky's written about this as well as many other people. The human need to confess is what we're dealing with right now. Unless you're a pure sociopath, you need to confess. And that's what we're seeing right now. People are confessing what is really going on, because an ordinary human being can't live with what they've done. Like Donna Brazile vindicated our reporting on Hillary's health. Have you talked about that yet? Very, very important.
No, it's big. I think your internal mic's on, not your external. We can barely hear you, but you're right. All these victories of what you've covered, what I've covered, what we've been demonized for, Mike Cernovich, Alex Jones, they made up the lie that Hillary was sick. She looks like she's been run over by a car. She's falling down the street. You're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, it's just crazy. What's going to happen is everything we cover gets vindicated and it accelerates. What are they going to do?
Good question. They're trying to get us all banned, Alex. It's the big game plan. Actually, Jack Lasso claimed he docked somebody today, even though he did. They're framing you all the time, trying to get us banned from Facebook, trying to get us banned from a social media platform, because the media has never apologized to us. We are.
All right, well, we're gonna go to break and get your mic fixed or get you on phone. Mike Cernovich, always great to have you hosting with us. We're gonna go to break and get his. He was great when we tested problems. Hey, great technology has a lot of great positive things about it, doesn't it? I mean, we can have Mike Cernovich in California, and we're in Austin, Texas, and got great HD audio coming in, but there's a little bit of an issue there, so we'll get that ironed out. And I'm glad this little technical difficulty happened because it gives me a chance to say this. I want life extension technology. I want to see it proven. I want to see it deployed. I want to see it developed. I don't want to see people that end up living longer lives than the new generations, try to shut off new generations because of what they call overpopulation, or create new caste systems where the older Homo sapiens create systems against the younger ones. I mean, death is something that kind of gets the problems out of the way. Good people die too, but it's always giving people a new lease on life for the next generation. The older I get, I realize that so-called eternal life would be quite a sin against humanity, and death is just like birth; it's all part of the process. It equalizes us all. But I would like to see us still have longer, better lives, and be able to mature more spiritually before we pass over to the other side. Okay, we're going to see when we get Cernovich dialed in and get his take on the profound things that are happening right now, ladies and gentlemen. Newswars.com, prisonplanet.com, Infowars.com. The globalists are trying to shut us down. Young people have been targeted with psychological warfare systems meant to rewire their brains, lower IQs, lower brain waves, and create jellyfish, Pavlovian-controlled minions who are literally under globalist programming control. It's all admitted. And as Mike Cernovich really said very well earlier, despite the fact his audio was hammered, this is the need to confess if you have a soul. If you're not a psychopath, you realize we're all connected. This is not a good idea. This is not good. Okay, gave you some temporary power. How are those billions doing for you? Not making you happy. Not as happy as you were telling the truth. Exactly. Nothing wrong with wealth as long as it wasn't stolen and it empowers others. We have unlimited wealth soon with the technology and free energy and all this crap. It's going to be about good and evil. We're going to find out it's about where we stand has the value. And what do the globalists want? They want your mind. They want you to think like they do. They want you to be degenerate. He mentioned it. I should have led the show with it. Mike Cernovich is absolutely right. Donna Brazil now saying, investigate Seth Rich. How sensational. We've gone from the DNC saying nobody hurt him. He got killed, but it's not political. And don't try to investigate. You're a bad guy. To the head of the DNC saying, I feared for my life, and now it needs to be investigated. She is telling you what happened. We are so close to the Mueller-Hillary crime syndicate going down. And if I wanted to investigate who hired the hit team that took out Seth Rich in D.C., I'd start with Robert Mueller. That's right, you heard me say it. Robert Mueller. Here's the clip.
Were the Russians involved, in your opinion, I know this hasn't been resolved yet, in Seth Rich's death? Yes, no, or I don't know?
I don't know. I'm not part of the investigative team, but I can tell you this much, and thank you for asking about Seth. He was my child. I loved him. He worked in the Voting Rights Division. I was the vice chair over that division. He was one of two staff people. I love him. I miss him. He was a patriot, and I hope to God we find out who murdered Seth Rich.
You wrote in the book you feel responsible for his death.
Because he was my child.
Okay. I understand.
Don't make me cry.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to do that.
My child.
Let me just say, y'all.
On July 10th.
Yeah.
He was my child. Mark, I have been in politics all my adult life. The only children I have are the children that I've hired. They're my children.
So she's scared. What do you make of this? It's just sensational, Mike Cernovich, at Cernovich on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, she's a beautiful woman now. I think she is a Christian. A lot of people don't talk about that. She's a Christian woman. I think she finally, maybe God spoke to her. She prayed or found something in her heart. But when I heard that video, I actually felt sad. You could feel her emotion. There's something very deep going on with her spiritually.
Absolutely. And what do you make of all these other big truths coming out right now? I mean, they have got to be in panic mode.
Yeah, I actually bought her book and had it the minute it came down, and I read it. She admits that Hillary Clinton did not have pneumonia, and that was a lie. She admits that she herself had been concerned with Hillary about her health. She admits that other people, including doctors, had reached out to her and others to talk about Hillary's health. And this is all in the book Hacks, an amazing book. So my question is, where are our apologies, Alex? Paul Joseph Watson was ridiculed, you were ridiculed, I was ridiculed, and Donna Brazile has now confirmed all of our reporting. Should the media apologize to us in a very public fashion?
Where do you see this leading, Mike? Where do you see this leading, Mike?
This is leading to other people are going to come forward now. The floodgates are open. The stories are going to come out. The truth is definitely going to come out. That's where we're headed. I mean, you can feel it everywhere. Weinstein, right? Louis C.K., Kevin Spacey. It's all part of a new zeitgeist where people are tired of the evil and they're tired of covering up for the demonic forces. And they're all going to come forward now, and even more evil will be exposed.
Let's talk about Roy Moore. I mean, there's a lot of pedophiles in both parties, a lot of perverts. So, I mean, it could be true. But I look at least one of the main ladies is a Democratic operative, works for the DNC, works for the candidate he's running against in the Senate, for the Senate. And then you've got the timing, all the fake stuff they put out on Trump, the fact this wasn't brought out earlier, the fact that it's 35 years old. I mean, again, if it's true, I say burn him at the stake. But I just, at a gut level, this just looks political.
Yeah, here's the thing that I found highly suspicious, Alex. Roy Moore dated multiple women with their parents' permission. He essentially courted them in a way. Now, I don't think that a 30-year-old man should date a 17-year-old, so I'm not here to get about that. But it's unusual, though, that he would date women with the parents' permission. Nothing happened. He didn't throw himself on them like Kevin Spacey did to a 14-year-old boy. But then there's that one story where it claims that he tried to go after a 14-year-old girl. It doesn't really make sense that a man who had been very respectful of the parents and had never done anything behind anybody's back.
I know, but as I learn more, I hear you. As I learn more, though, I don't, because now it's, I mean, I think a 35-year-old going after 17-year-olds, I think it's creepy.
Oh, I'm not defending that. Yeah, that's the thing. I've definitely, if you're a 32-year-old man, 34-year-old man, you don't need to be with 18-year-olds. That's what ultimately, though, pornography does, which is what I find interesting about the outrage from the left. They're saying, oh, you know, Roy Moore was dating an 18-year-old. And I thought, well, yes, all that pornography promoted by Hollywood, promoted by the media, that involves 18-year-old girls on their 18-year-old birthday.
Well, sure, that's the big popular stuff they push.
So I think...
Exactly. I've not even been looking for porn before, and they're pushing, you know, barely legal. It's in hotel rooms. You see it, you know, in the adult sections. It's all there. All I'm saying is, when I first saw the news yesterday, there wasn't all this extra stuff. I think the first news didn't want to say it all, so they get sued. He's saying it's all fake. But if it turns out he's 35, courting 17-year-olds, I just think it's weird. And I'm just saying.
Oh, no, and I agree with you totally. That's why I brought it up. A lot of people are claiming that I'm defending the allegations. No, I'm saying that you shouldn't be dating 17-year-olds if you're in your 30s. I'm saying that. What is interesting, though, is he went to the parents for permission, though, right? And he didn't do anything sexual with them. He didn't throw himself. He didn't abuse them. And then all of a sudden there's a 14-year-old said, oh, he came out in his tighty-whities and, you know, was really aggressive and everything. And that to me just doesn't sound consistent with what he had been doing before that, right? So that's for me just trying to figure out the truth of it all, because if he did make a sexual pass at a 14-year-old, I've told people I'll be right part of that lynch mob. I'll bring the rope. I got no problem
exactly,
with that.
But you got this Democrat
like
operative.
A very, very serious accusation.
Exactly.
I'm not just going to join.
We saw the stuff about Trump that wasn't true is my point. So that's why out of hand I question it. And then you got the same media at first defending Weinstein. Well, listen, you're going to take over when you come back. Your mic's almost back. We're going to mess with it some more. It's definitely not the really good quality we usually have with Mike Cernovich, but the info he's got is really amazing. So we're going to come back and talk about all this with Mike Cernovich, at Cernovich on Twitter. I'm Alex Jones, at Real Alex Jones. Then later I want to ask him about the admissions in Congress that they're censoring. All right, Mike Cernovich here. I'm co-hosting with him. Always great to have him on. One of the most prolific journalists out there and one of the tireless ones, most tireless. I think Trump via Huckabee's daughter, the press secretary, Huckabee Sanders, has put out really a perfect statement. And I think this is my statement as well. You've seen a lot of fake allegations over time, you know, so we got to wait and see what happens. But if it's true, step down. And we've got the quote right here. Like most Americans, the president believes that we cannot allow a mere allegation, in this case, one from many years ago, to destroy a person's life, Sanders said. However, the president also believes that if these allegations are true, Judge Moore will do the right thing and step aside. I mean, this is because listen, this hit me while I was on air yesterday, and I just saw the first article that came out saying no sexual contact and told a girl that she was pretty in front of her mom. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. I mean, I hadn't read all the rest of it. And the South in some areas is like it was 200 years ago, where older men would want a younger wife that was 15 years younger so they would be able to take care of them when they're old. I mean, this is really, I want to say backward stuff, but that's, I mean, because a lot of my family's from Alabama that founded Texas. They came out of Alabama and Tennessee. But back in those days, a lot of times, especially if one wife had died on you that was the same age, usually you got about 2 wives. If you lived a long time, a couple of your wives would die. And it was vice versa. That was like George Washington married Martha, and her husband had died. A lot of people died young. And it is from history, and that's the only shot he's got of it not being creepy. It's not illegal. I think it's creepy. I think Hugh Hefner was creepy. Well, 85 going after 18-year-olds, that's really creepy. But going to parents and then courting their 17, 18-year-old daughters to see if they're going to be a good wife. We should look. Did he end up marrying one of these girls? I guess he's still with her. I guess his wife does look a lot younger than him. That was the old tactic. You would actually get a 10, 15-year-old younger wife to, quote, take care of you. They didn't have nursing homes back then. Your wife took care of you. That might be what this is. But other than that, 14-year-olds coming to visit at his house, I don't like it. And again, I'm somebody, when I have limited info, I have one view. When I get more, I have more. Mike Cernovich, what do you think?
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up, by the way, because the truth fears no inquiry, right? I'm not here playing a defense lawyer for Roy Moore. I'm the one who has said, actually, I read the article, and he had been courting an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old. Apparently, he may have asked a 16-year-old out on a date, which I'm not going to defend that behavior.
No.
But what I noticed
is if I catch a 35-year-old man trying to pick up my 14-year-old daughter, they're going to get their damn jaw broken.
But what I found interesting is that Roy Moore would go to the mothers, okay, in all those instances. The specific allegation involving the 14-year-old, it claims that he went behind the mom's back, picked up the 14-year-old, drove her out to a house, put her down on the floor, gave her wine, and then came out in tighty-whities. That's pedophile behavior right there. And as we know, pedophiles never stop. But we hadn't heard anything
exactly.
like this.
That's why I've questioned it, is there's never history. But then, you know what? So it may all be a complete lie. That's what I'm saying. Just like Trump said, if you know, we got to check into this, make sure it's true. We've seen a lot of lies, but if it is true.
Yeah, exactly. Pedophiles, they never quit. And we have this isn't like Kevin Spacey. We heard about Kevin Spacey and Charlie Sheen and Louis. We've heard stuff like that for years and in some cases.
And let's be clear, as libertarians, as conservatives, when we see that this could be possible, we're jumping all over it instead of just ignoring it like the Democrats do.
Exactly. Well, and I also mentioned, why is the media not looking into Bob Menendez? They actually covered that up. He's accused by federal prosecutors. The Menendez accusation doesn't involve an accusation of the Washington Post, which has spread a lot of fake news. Federal prosecutors had actually said in an article that and I sent this, of course, to the production team, about Bob Menendez. So why are the media not asking Democrats, hey, if this stuff about underage people is true, will you disavow him? The media is completely silent about Bob Menendez. They covered up Bill Clinton's multiple rape accusations, but now when it's Roy Moore, they're like, look at us, we're steadfast defenders, and we're really going to do aggressive journalism. It's like, well, wait a minute. They ignored Renita Broderick, right? They covered up for Bill Clinton, the rapist, for years. They're not talking about Bob Menendez. And that's the problem here that you and I and other people have is, if this is true, hey, I hope somebody, legally, of course, I'm not going to make threats on air, but if it's true that Roy Moore tried to take advantage of a 14-year-old, man, I don't care what happens to that guy. The issue is that where was the media believing the victims of Bill Clinton? Where's the media talking about Bob Menendez? Where's the media actually being a hero?
And we got Bill Clinton settling rape cases, paying money. I mean, we've got bona fide.
Exactly. And the media pretends it doesn't happen. Bill Clinton's a hero. Bill Clinton's a great man. They never talked about how Hillary Clinton enabled the rape. They never talked about how
she liked to represent child molesters.
Right. Hillary Clinton represented a child rapist, laughed because she was able to traumatize a young girl who was never able to actually have children because the rape was so violent. The media never asked Charles Schumer, hey, Anthony Weiner, let's just talk about the truth, Alex. Let's talk about the truth for a minute, because this is opening up a lot of questions. One is that Charles Schumer groomed, which maybe is an unfortunate word considering what Anthony Weiner was doing, but Charles Schumer groomed Anthony Weiner to be a successor. Anthony Weiner was in Congress, but I don't hear the media saying, hey, Democrats, do you comment about Anthony Weiner? He's going to prison. He is
Yeah. Where is Chuck Schumer disavowing? I got all these text messages and calls from media. Do you disavow Roy Moore? Well, it's easy to disavow David Duke because we know what he stands for. With Roy Moore, we don't know if he's guilty.
Right. And why wasn't the media asking people, do you disavow Bob Menendez? Do you disavow Anthony Weiner? They go, oh, they call us mean. They go, how dare you try to exploit this tragedy for your own political ends? They go, how dare you politicize these sex crimes? And I go, wait a minute. That's what they're doing right now. And that's why they can't cry now, because we don't necessarily believe them. We don't take the Washington Post, Alex. They still call me alt-right. Over a year ago, I said, look, I didn't know these people were lunatics. I thought they were just people trying to, have some uncomfortable conversations. I didn't know they wanted to throw Nazi salutes and carry Hitler flags. So over a year ago, I said, I'm not alt-right. I want nothing to do with those guys. The Washington Post to this day calls me alt-right, which is a lie.
By the way, Paul Watson over a year ago said the same thing. We're new right. We're not alt-right. And we even identify, and they won't let us identify as we want to identify. They claim it's so important to let someone identify as they identify, but with us, they won't let us do it.
Exactly. And then they go, well, Cernovich, how dare you not believe the Washington Post? Yeah, how dare I not believe a publication that lies about me in a very easy way, and in a way where they're trying to get me murdered, actually. If you call somebody a white nationalist while you're telling people go punch a Nazi, then what you're doing, if you're in the media, you're trying to get me murdered. I'm a father. It's very easy to see that I'm not.
Exactly. And I want to ask you about the Texas and Vegas and more, and how Trump's doing when we come back. Mike Cernovich, Cernovich at Twitter. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. Please don't forget, I've got to end it today or tomorrow. I've got to end it soon because we have free shipping and we have a lot of our best-selling products at 50% off, and that's really 50% off. And I only mark up products 100%. So when it's 100% marked up, remember, there's cost and expense in that. So when you're cutting something off 50%, some of these are loss leaders. Super Male Vitality, Super Female Vitality, Secret 12, Super Blue fluoride-free mouthwash with colloidal silver and iodine. People really, really love it. What it does for their gums, gingivitis, you name it. It's amazing. It's at InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, Vitamin Mineral Fusion. 50% off all the Patriot apparel. We never do that. At InfoWarsStore.com. Want to thank you all for your support, by the way, but this special has got to end. It will be over by the weekend. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. It is such a revolutionary act to financially fund this operation and to also spread the articles, the videos, and that's how we're getting around the censorship. I'll ask Mike Cernovich about that as well straight ahead. So back in 2005, the Family Guy had an episode where the baby that could talk escapes from Kevin Spacey's sex dungeon for children. And again, over and over again, they say he does this, just like the Weinstein jokes. It shows they knew and then made jokes about it. We're going to go back to Mike Cernovich here in just a moment. We're still messing with his microphone. And, hey, it happens. He's remote. We appreciate him joining us. But we're going to loop this a few times for you to point out, where were the accusations of Judge Roy Moore? Where were the accusations of Trump before he ran for office? That's why it's all suspect. Could it be true? Absolutely. But the timing is everything. Where do these, I mean, I've been a public figure for 20-something years, been very well known for 5, 6. Where are the accusations? They can make them up about me, folks. This is a political war. Is Moore guilty? It hasn't been confirmed he courted 17-year-olds. I think that's just a little weird if it's true. I looked at his wife to see if there's similarities. Here it is. There really aren't. She was 24. He was 38. 14-year age difference. Still married. And that is, I'd forgotten, I really thought about it, kind of an old-fashioned thing where men get a wife older than them to take care of them. Get a wife that's young and can cook so she can take care of when you're old. I mean, everybody in my family married women the exact same age. My dad, mom, same age. My grandparents, one grandfather was 2 years older. The other grandfather was a year older. That's usually, it's about a year or two older is kind of usually how it is, because that's who's in your group and, you know, who's into the same things. But it all varies. It's not bad if some 70-year-old guy wants to have a 30-year-old wife. She's just probably doing it because she wants some money, but hey, who cares? The old guys will tell you, I don't care if she just wants some money, sonny. But it's totally different when they start going after children. And let me tell you, if a Judge Roy Moore truly did that and asked to date my 14-year-old daughter, I'm telling him, you're a creepy person. You better get off my front porch. You might get punched in your nose. But again, there's no proof yet. We'll see, though. And if there is, we'll report it. Here is that clip from the Family Guy.
Help! I've escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement. Help me! Help! I've escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement. Help me! Help! I've escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement. Help me! Help! I've escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement. Help me! Help! I've escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement.
And, of course, it turns out, according to the family, Kevin Spacey's father was a devil-worshipping Nazi who tortured them in a basement. Mike Cernovich, pretty incredible. Where do you think all this is going?
Yeah, and I think Seth MacFarlane had also made a joke about how women now won't have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein. So clearly they all know a lot. And more. Oh,
they've said it at award shows. They've got all these actresses in TV movies saying, you know, I've had Harvey Weinstein try to have sex with me 5 times and refused twice.
Exactly. And I predicted on a podcast before the Kevin Spacey thing hit, I said, now with the Weinstein stuff, the pedophile stuff is going to become very intense now. And then suddenly, you know, Kevin Spacey, that allegation came out. The allegation against Charlie Sheen came out as well. The Daily Mail is reporting on that. We're gonna hear more of it. We're not even at 10%. It's the tip of the iceberg. And people are now realizing what degenerates, and not even degenerates, but what sexual predators they are in Hollywood.
Why is the number so high? Because, I mean, I got to tell you, I wouldn't say I knew Charlie Sheen super, like best buddies or close friends, but I probably stayed at his house 13, 14 times that I can remember. A lot of times I'd use it as a hotel. He had a big, nice house. I'd be out there working, say, hey, stay here. Working, reading books. He was always, he had dedicated to whatever wife he had, smoking a lot of cigarettes, drinking a lot of coffee. Then he started using drugs and stuff, and it wasn't cool. I've only been over there like twice the last 6 years or so, you know, try to get him off drugs. But I saw some wild women there, but they were all like 30, 35. You know, and people told me, yeah, I know his taste is like, you know, full-grown women. But I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm also worried about them spiking some fake stories on somebody like Charlie, who's an easy target, and I'm not saying it's fake. It's to be taken very seriously. Because he's an easy target, then that kind of diverts off from other people.
Oh, well, there's all kinds of things going on right now. I'm surprised that I haven't heard anything about you or me or Paul Joseph Watson or something completely fabricated, too, because they do want to deflect. And that's why, you know, this Roy Moore stuff comes out. It was all Democrats being called out, all Hollywood people And then now there's Roy Moore. So every day that I wake up, I expect to see a false, completely fabricated story about me or friends of ours, because that's what they have to do now to try to say, look, everybody is. It isn't just the Democrat Hollywood elite. It isn't just the Bob Menendezes and the Anthony Weiners and the Bill Clintons.
Sure, I said this 2 months ago. The only way for them to have credibility after they cover up with the Clintons and everything is to burn a bunch of their own, then get that rolling, and then have some cred to go after the conservatives, Christians, and libertarians.
Exactly, and that could be their next play. It's very hard to say, but with social media and the people waking up, it is going to be very hard. For example, most of my people, not even most, 90% of people who read me don't believe any allegation because it's in the Washington Post. Now, if you or I broke this story, or if Breitbart or Drudge broke this story, our people would believe it. But WAPO has lied so many times now that it isn't going to affect us. So even if they did fabricate things about us, our listeners aren't even going to believe it, because they're going to say,
sure.
These people that, if you'll lie and call these people alt-right, if you lie and call them Nazis, then why wouldn't you lie and fabricate all kinds of sexual?
Well, I liked your point. I think it was with Newsweek where they were pointing out, you're like, why are you calling Democrats pedophiles? Well, they keep getting busted. It was like, why are we obsessed with pedophiles? Well, no, they are. And then you go, hey, you keep calling us Nazis with absolutely no proof. So how does that feel? But expanding on this, we now have Project Veritas with them saying shut down Infowars, #1 job with YouTube, with Google. Now we have them in hearings with the director of Twitter saying we shut down Alex Jones and Paul Watson at lunch. Lawyers telling me this is powerful civil rights violation. Why are they so open about it? What's going on?
Well, remember when during the DNC leaks, Paul and you and I, we were saying that Twitter was censoring the hashtag, and Twitter goes, absolutely not, we didn't do that. And then in testimony, they go, well, actually, we deleted 48% of the tweets and censored the hashtags, right? So everything that we've said they've been doing, they are, in fact, doing because they want to silence the people. And that is really why the support of the people and the listeners and the readers now matters more than ever, because this is not an attack on you and me. We're just puppets to the globalist pedophile masterminds. You and I, they're attacking us because we're public figures. Ultimately, this is an attack on every nuclear family in America. They're trying to destroy the nuclear family. They're trying to enslave people.
That's it. We're figureheads of the nuclear family and of just basic sanity. And if they can shut us down, they can shut everybody down. And they now, exactly, they lied about it and said they weren't. Now they have to admit it because they know they've been caught. So the decision is hide it in plain view.
Exactly. So what you and I, if we went away and somebody replaced us, then the media would never even talk about us. They would talk about whoever the new person on the vanguard was, the new public figure. Fundamentally, anybody who preaches a pro-America, pro-family, pro-morals, because I respect all religions, anybody trying to live a moral life, Jewish, whether that's Jewish or Muslim or Christian, who's really trying to be moral and live a better life, I respect all of that. But they want to destroy everybody who has any kind of religion. That way, I mean, think about it. This is what's coming out, and the women who are making accusations are powerful people. Imagine the household people who can't speak English that are being raped. So let's talk about this for a minute, because this was called a conspiracy theory by the media before. You and I had said that they want, that they being the globalists and the Democrat Hollywood media pedophile establishment, they want open borders so then they can bring in vulnerable women and children to rape. And people go, oh, that's crazy.
And now it's all out that they're using the human trafficking to do that.
Right. But if they will attack and sexually assault very affluent, high-profile women, imagine what they're doing to their domestic household staff. I'll be surprised if we don't hear more. And we gotta just say, look, if you come forward against Hollywood, we have to give them citizenship. We have to just say, look, if you're going to be a whistleblower about your Hollywood pedophile master, then we're not going to deport you. We're going to take care of you, treat you like the American hero.
Sure. What about this New York group that it turns out they tell them is a feminist group, and they brand the women reportedly and call them man master, and it's all a big liberal group. I mean, we already know about, there's other groups people haven't heard about, but that's what this is.
Yeah, it's a sex cult. Again, everything that they go, oh, spirit cooking conspiracy theory, Hillary's health conspiracy theory. Well, there's now a proven spirit cooking sex cult. Well, wow, welcome to where you and I were a year ago. So what we're talking about today, that'll be what people will talk about tomorrow and in the future.
Wow, Mike Cernovich, at Cernovich, thank you so much for hosting this hour with us. Look forward to speaking to you more. Owen Schroyer in the War Room is coming up right now. They're trying to jam the signal, folks. They can't stop you when you share the articles. Owen Schroyer coming up. Please spread the links. Well, it's Friday night, and I was walking out of the building to go see my family, and this studio won't be done still for a few weeks. And I thought, oh my gosh, look how amazing this is. We've got to show people what their support has done. This is our new state-of-the-art stage and set where we can bring you the best guests, the best investigative journalism, the most hardcore pro-Americana information to smash the establishment Republican Party, to smash the Democratic Party, to smash the offshore corporations that are trying to bankrupt our nation and other nations. This is an information warfare weapon system that has Twitter, Facebook, Google, all of them admitting in congressional hearings that they want to shut us down because they want to shut you down. But guess what? They've not been successful. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's up to you to keep the signal going. Thank you all for your support. We have free shipping store-wide, InfoWarsStore.com throughout this weekend, and up to 50% off on our best-selling products to help fund this information warfare operation while getting high-quality products at the same time. So I told you, we just keep expanding, we keep winning, we keep dominating because of you. Because of you, Infowars is getting ready to go to the next level, and I want to say great job to the crew that's been building this studio the last few days. Nobody but Americans of every background could do something like this and build it so quick. So it's a testament to the information war and the people of this great nation. And I salute you all because you are the answer, you are the Renaissance, and you are the resistance to tyranny. Hey, Zimmerman, you think this new state-of-the-art set we've set up for the new TV network, you think this will trigger them when we blow up the Death Star?
Absolutely.
Again, folks, this is just a first look. Some of the things we're building, some of the things that are going on. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We have the technology. We can rebuild it. A better studio, a faster studio, a smarter studio, an Infowars studio.